Let me
This
see.
weird
Okay.
segment live breaking down the fight again.
And okay, we're live. We're live. We're going to be waiting for a little bit, and we'll do the fancy intro. Not nothing fancy about it. It's just me saying what's up, guys. But we'll save that for later. So okay, I'll send you the link so we can start sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, there you go. Okay, I'm gonna make a quick tweet here.
Searching for a GIF. I'm typing in white Japanese guy. Feels appropriate, right?
327. It's 327, right? I'm getting that correct.
White Asian guy.
Okay, I'm missing the link though. Okay.
Weeboo. Trying to find like something that'll get me whenever the right GIF I want here. I'm ready to go whenever though.
Okay, I'm gonna share Discord here real quick. Okay.
What the hell? Okay. Let's go with Tom Cruise in The Last Samurai.
The Last Samurai, the first wave. Okay. Okay, I need a topology real quick here.
Found a good Last Samurai GIF, but it didn't have Tom Cruise in
it. We will have to settle for that.
it.
Okay. You ready, sharing or?
Yeah, ready.
Okay.
I'll share when we go.
Okay. Okay, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new episode of the Fall Preview, stupid ass podcast where I break down every single fight, even though no one asked me to do it. We're here to break down UFC 327. This is going on in Miami, Florida, in Gusano Land. We're going crazy already, and only 12 fights. We had a great co-main event that fell through. But we still have a card here. It's going to be decent. Joining me for this episode, I have the man himself, Dan Tom. How are you, Dan?
What's up, man? Welcome to Miami. Miyamu, yamu, yami, Big Willie style for anyone who remembers that 90s album. Thank you for having me, man.
Okay. So Dan was on a little break, but he won big time last week. So we have high energy here for this one, and we're here ready for some slop, man. Because like there are some good fights. But even some of the relevant fights are like kind of like head scratchers from the matchmaking perspective. But yeah, main event
Yeah,
main event is Jiří Procházka against Carlos Ulberg for the vacant light heavyweight championship after Poatan Pereira decided to move up to fight Sirgan for potentially becoming uh, a three division champion and turning the GOAT discussion into a trash can on fire, really. But I guess we'll talk about that when we get there. So yeah, why don't we get into the first fight, right? I'll do like short version of the profiles, shorter than usual, so I can allow my boy Dan here to talk as well. But yeah, our very first prelim, according to Topology, is about between oh no, reverse order. Okay, yes. It's about between Charles Rattkey and Francisco Prado. So uh, we have Charles Rattkey, who is a ballet flow fighter, the camp that has Bilal Mohammed and Ignacio Bahamontes and also Rami Brahimai. So he has like two high level welterweights partners in his weight class in Bilal and Ramiz, and also has Ignacio, who is just a weight class below. They seems like they have a good training situation over there. Rattkey mostly on the feet is mostly a boxer. He still kicks, but he's all about his left hook. Very strong with the left hook. He can like throw it leaping. He can throw it inside, and he also has like heavy hands in the right hand. Rattkey, other than that, is like very well rounded, a decent wrestler. He has like top game, like all the guys in Battleflow. Has been wrestled in the past though, and the striking defense is kind of like sketchy. He doesn't have many ideas, relies a lot on his counters. On the other hand, we have Francisco Prado, who is like kind of small for welterweight. I feel he started his UFC career as a lightweight, and is now trying his luck at welterweight, right? Um, and he fought Jake Matthews and he fought Beretenikov. Beretenikov, who is huge for the weight class. They look like very funny next to each other. But Prado, a very good athlete. He showed to be physical enough to hang in there with Beretenikov. Prado is very durable, very well conditioned, and on the feet, he has power on the hands. He likes short combinations. He likes like sleeping to both sides, trying to play like Tyson from Timu before closing in the distance and banging those left hooks to the body. It's an interesting fight because it's like two guys that really like the left hook here. But
Mhm.
Prado has tried to like impose more of a well-rounded game, and he has like a good eye for transitions. So we'll see how that plays out. Luckily for Prado, Ratkin not the biggest guy at welterweight, so he might look more in size against him. Tell me your thoughts about this one, Dan.
I like you said the left hand's going to be a two-way street because I think that is the case for the bottom and the top of this card in different ways, and we'll get to the top of the card later. But I totally agree that that's going to be the slot as far as the shots to look out for. But I feel like the crux will be within the wrestling. Charles Rattkey I'm not sold on him as some good wrestler. Like you said, he trains with really good training partners. whether he's got the wrestling, Bilal Muhammad, a similar statured welterweight, got good jujitsu guys from coaches to guys like what was it like Brendan Allen's been going through that gym as well.
Oh yeah.
Um, so you want to give room for some upside, but I also don't want to make it out like he's some blowout guy. I think Rattkey, I don't think his ceiling is going to be very high in this division, particularly. And same with Prado, though. And Prado, I want to think he's getting better. We'll talk about South Americans who we want to, maybe flip a coin on or not flip a coin on as far as can they overcome the crux of this matchup being the wrestling. And as far as this matchup with the South American banger goes, as much as I would love to see Prado win here, I think Charles Rattkey wins. And I thought of a fun game for a card called Nightmare Blunt Rotation, where you pick three fighters who would be the Nightmare Blunt Rotation. And
Okay,
I feel
so
like we come up with the same three fighters for this card: Rattkey,
Hokit
Hokit,
and who is?
Paulo Costa, probably
Oh, okay,
Bohachinia. Let's
okay,
be
yeah,
honest.
gotta be Wahashini. But you have Johnny Walker though. You have Johnny Walker though.
He is pretty funny, at least though. Too. I don't know.
Okay,
He's
okay, yeah. But Costa is also
uh
funny, but it's more fatigue kid, yes.
yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll get to it, but apparently even his own country is not feeling him. But we'll get to that later. But yeah,
Okay.
I feel like it's going to be a night of hopefully not all three of those guys win. We'll get to it, but I do feel like we might start off the night with some classic Florida ooh rah rah from Charles Rattkey playing to the crowd here.
Oh yeah, and we're going to get the Super Louds USA, even though
Oh yeah,
it's Prado the one that trains in Florida right now. So
yes, yes, yes.
he's an American top team right now.
Oh okay,
He lives at the
that's
dorms
good.
actually. Yeah.
Nice.
uh, yeah. I feel like this one is close. It depends a lot on. I feel like if Rattkey like can't gets to break brother Prado early in this one, it's probably going to be hard for Prado to get back into the fight. But if it's close at the beginning, I trust Prado more in the later rounds. More
Okay.
condition, better
Yeah,
ideas. I
yeah.
feel. Rattkey probably the bigger puncher of the two, but man, Prado looks like either Argentinian like Drew Dover, or he looks like that sliced bread man from Ren and Stimpy. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah,
great reference. Holy crap. Yeah,
yeah.
dude. And I was gonna say the Drew Dober one too, but that's why I get so upset that Drew Dober is still winning fights, because like it feels like he's winning fights by the skin of his teeth even more than he already does. And I'm just like, why, Drew? Your clone is already here, bro. Go right off into the sunset. You already made your clone. You make your clone for nothing, bro. And now he's outperforming his clone. It's because
Yeah,
it's like we're gonna be
he's
set
doing
up for a
better.
war.
He's doing better than Prado right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm gonna make a risky pick here, and I'm going to go
Okay.
Prado by decision here. So we have our first disagreement, but all in good fun, obviously. Um, let's move on
Yep.
to our next fight.
I hope you're right.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so we need to stop like laughing immediately, because like out of the gate we already have like Kelvin Gastelum versus Vicente Luque for whatever
Oh
reason,
man.
and at middleweight too, which I kind of feel like it makes it like more sad actually. Uh,
Yes.
I don't know, this one kind of sucks. So very quickly, like we're going to talk about the current version of these guys. Like, why would we talk about like their ephemeral
Yeah.
like versions of the past? Kelvin Gastelum nowadays is still pretty fast, but not lightning fast anymore. He's still like the 1-2 guy, but I feel like he's being forced to use like a bit more weapons now. Now he tries to extend combinations more, because he's not as effective as just bombing people with the 1-2 anymore. He's kicking a little bit more, and he's more willing to wrestle here. But he's still very durable and well conditioned. But like the conditioning is not that great, honestly. He kind of fights. He tries to like control the output nowadays. You could see that on that fight against what's his name, guy with the terrible, the guy who killed Adesanya. Joe Pfeiffer,
Oh, but yeah,
Joe,
Piper. Yeah,
the
yeah.
Joe Pfeiffer. Yeah, but on that third round, like Pfeiffer was clearly the more tired of the two, and Gastelum was still not super able to put on a pace on him. So I don't think that Gastelum's once great gas tank is completely there anymore. On the flip side, we have Vicente Luque, who we got to mention got brain bleeding after losing to Jeff Neal. So it's kind of insane that he's still fighting. And for a while, he was looking like pretty scared of fighting after that. And still, honestly, like
Yeah.
the thing is that Luke changed like completely as a fighter post the brain bleeding, and like we cannot like blame him at all, right? But the thing is that nowadays Luke just don't want to get into exchanges at all, and the thing that made Vicente Luque a great fighter when he was good was that he was getting into dogfights the whole time. So it's like kind of doesn't make sense that he's a fighter that tries to avoid exchanges, especially because his winning condition is still like landing a huge punch on the feet and then pursuing you on the ground with the darts most of the time. But he did subvert expectations in the Temba Gorimbo fight because instead of like the left hook into the darts, it was a right hand into an anaconda. So he was kind of sneaky there. but
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
but yeah, Luke. The thing with Luke is that because he doesn't want to be into exchanges anymore, he tries to wrestle a lot. And Luke is very strong and he's not a bad wrestler against the cage. But in open space, he completely lacks setups. He's not super fast anymore, so he often shots bad shots, and when he does, he can get reversed. And that's exactly how he got finished by Kevin Holland and also by Joaquin Buckley. So kinda sucks when Luki goes for a bad takedown. What are your reads here, man?
So this is interesting, man. Yeah, you're right. There's a lot of fighters you have that caveat for where we have to remember to break down 2026. Like we were just talking about a little theory which we'll get into later, Fenya, where I mentioned 2021, and I'm like, oh wait, that 2021 is now a half decade ago, right? Like it's crazy, and much less you get to 2020, or you get to when a lot of these fighters we're going to talk about, literally from the females to this fight to higher in the card, a lot of their primes were in 2018 or 2019, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. That
Like,
that was a while ago now, man.
and not even their primes. I mean, I'm talking about like toward the end of their primes, as far as like when they should relevantly be on headliners for title contention and stuff like that. I mean, this is we're talking about 6 to 8 years ago for a lot of these fighters, and these guys are right there. It's not been they've been able to find success, but it's been under the weirdest categories. Luke had his fall off with the brain bleed. And then
And he
even
was
Gastelum, like,
Luki
what's
was
that?
falling off before that too. Like
Yes,
that
yes,
that Jeff
yes.
Neal and the previous Bilal Mohammed performances were awful, and that was like pre brain bleed. So.
And that could be here too because, there's Southpaw. There's a Southpaw matchup. So I got some
Oh
Southpaw stats
yeah,
for you. And we're talking about how stats are really bad and stuff, especially like me and Fenyo were, we're preaching to the choir with each other as well as your audience, Fenyo. But leg kicks are the worst stats, right? Like we always talk about. I try to come up with like more fun stats that I track myself, but even those don't always mean anything like rematch stats, apex stats, so your stats in the smaller cage, right? Or Southpaw stats is something I obviously track. But it's funny, and maybe this is a spoiler alert, but you were giving me credit for doing well on the last card, and I appreciate that. But the last official card before I took a break was UFC London, and I actually went perfect in picks, and I had a big night there. And I haven't went perfect in picks for a while. There's like I'm sure with you, Fenyo, there are so many cards we can't even count where we nailed every pick on the card except one, right?
yeah. Oh, I
But
have so many of those. Yeah.
right, yes, yes, but I don't know about you, but for me it's very low, much lower than people would think. Like there's very few cards that I've picked perfectly. It's just hard to do.
I think I picked like
And
two or three, honestly, like perfect
yeah, me
picks.
too. It's like three. It's like this. It was that UFC London. It was I can't remember the first one. It might have been like the Brazil card, UFC Fight Night '76. Like we're going back that far. And then another one is going back to 2017. That first Brooklyn card, UFC 208. That really weird card with Brunson, Anderson Silva, Durandamy, and Holly Holm.
Okay, yeah.
Um, I got that card perfect.
Oh yeah.
But the parallel here is so I've got a bunch of southpaw stats for you, right? But I keep the same energy for what it's worth, and stats don't mean everything, even the ones I'm proud of or whatever, and this and that, because there were a bunch of southpaws like Mason Jones on that card, right? Who was technically winless against southpaws. Now
Oh
he
yeah.
should have beat
Mason
Alan
Jones.
Patrick, and he was kicking Alan Patrick's ass. It was one of those eye pokes where I never say this, Fenyo, but the fighter was clearly looking for a way out, right? So there's like weird little caveats, and then I forget there was another fighter I picked that night. Um, it wasn't Nathaniel Wood, although I picked him correctly, but they were also winless against Southpaws, right? And they both ended up getting wins that night, right? And not only did I get the pick right, I was able to cash some bets, which feels a little better when you can do that. And this card, you've got a bunch of fighters you got some fighters, I should say, with winning records. And let's just say that might not mean I'm picking them. Now, Luca's record is 4-3 against UFC level lefties. Um, he here and tell me, Fenyo, tell me what the common thread with his losses are, though, right? So he loses to what his wins are, I should say. He loses to Joaquin Buckley. Again, that was the weird brain bleed fight. Not sure how much you want to count that, right?
And he
He
was
beats
kind of
Rafael
winning on the
dos.
feet.
Yeah, he beats Rafael dos Anjos in a weird fight where they just grapple each other back and forth in the cage for 5 rounds.
Yep.
Um, Loses to Jeff Neal, beats Michael Chiesa, uh, beats Barberina, although Barberina almost knocked him out, right? And it was the first to really kind of maybe you could look at to start tipping
Yeah.
Luque the other way, right?
That
You
fight
could
was
actually
so
probably track.
insane, man. Both guys
You
like
could probably
paid
track it,
so
yeah.
much. Yeah.
Before that, he beat Jalen Turner, and then he loses to Leon Edwards. So the wins, what's the commonality between the wins? Jalen Turner, Brian Barberina, Michael Chiesa, and Rafael dos Anjos. What's the commonality there?
Man, actually, no, not quite sure what's the common thread here.
They're all former.
Oh, lightweights.
That's right. And
Oh,
even though
that's
Gastelum probably
crazy.
should be a lightweight at 5'9", right? He probably should be. This is a guy who weighed in 191 for his last middleweight fight where he's competed the majority of his career at this point, right? Like he should be a welterweight, right? He could, don't say thought he could make lightweight back in the day, but Gastelum obviously is a middleweight for whatever you want to make of that. And yeah, man, and obviously where they are at in their career, it's not just stats, right? Where they're at in their career. Gastelum, even though I feel like a lot of his wins are gifts, he weight bullied, cheated, and got some bullshit scorecards against D-Rod, right?
Yeah.
That fight, like, I still think he lost the Chris Curtis fight, even with the headbutt. That clash of heads not getting
Yeah.
graded, and of course,
I
if it
scored
got
that one
graded,
for
oh,
I scored that one for Chris too. Yeah.
yeah, it should have been for Chris Curtis. So you go back to it, and it was what a washed Ian Heinisch who was on his way out, uh, and then that split decision versus Aldo Souza back in 2018, right? So he loses split to Souza, loses 3 in a row, loses Adesanya, Till, Hermanson, beats a washed Heinisch who's on his way out. What does that mean? I don't know. By decision, loses to Whitaker, loses to Cannonier, should have lost to Curtis, lost to Brady, should have lost to Rodriguez, lost to Pfeiffer, beat Dustin Stoltzfus. So I
That
mean,
yeah. Dustin
I'm picking.
Stolfish like barely UFC level. So
Yeah, and fun fact too, aside from the bullshit scorecards with the Rodriguez fight, although that round one was competitive, it could have gone his way easily. He's arguably lost the first round in all these fights, like his last 6 or 7 fights. So to your point, even though Gaslam's favored, I agree that he should be favored. Spoiler alert, Fenyo, I'm picking him to win here. To your point, even Wash Luque, he is dangerous early, and that is when Gaslam can get caught, whether it's getting dropped by Joe Pfeiffer or submitted by Jack Hermanson, right? So I just
yeah.
want to throw that out there for devil's advocate, but I am going to pick Gaslam because of where they're at, if that makes sense.
Yeah. For me, the big like thing is that yeah, Luke is not great at landing his left hook on lefties for the most part. He did land
Yeah,
on Jalen Turner though, but I feel like Luke is like kind of bad at seeing straight lefts, and like
yes,
Gastelum throws like 1-2s all the time. And the thing that worries me
yep.
the most is that yeah, Kelvin Gastelum has been like taken down and submitted by actual wrestlers. You've never seen a guy that is not a wrestler like just bullshit a takedown on Kelvin Gastelum. And if
Mhm.
Luca tries a bad takedown on him, he's going to end up on bottom. And I mean, Luca looks kind of bleak nowadays from bottom, man. And
Absolutely.
I like it's not that Gastelum is like a monster with ground pound, but he's still a top position guy when he gets there. Like he actually top position Ian Heinisch, who himself was a wrestler. So yeah, I think he still has some wrestling chops enough to deal with Luke at the very least. I think that Luke at Kluvan Sov is possible. Like if he hurts Gastelum and Gastelum himself goes for a bad shot, you could see a Dars. But if I had to pick, yeah, I gotta go Gastelum, and I say he either gets like the finish like late round one, mid round two, or this one goes to like a tepid decision. I would say
Yes, yeah.
one of those two. Shout out to
We're
MMA
joking
Plays.
about the Hey, MMA plays. What's up? What's up? That's a good dude. The hot round dude was there. But speaking of rounds, by the way, me and Fenya were joking about ourselves, calling ourselves out for like our trend of picking round twos. Like for me, it used to be round three, but I've trended toward round two. And because in Fenyo's defense, that's where like a lot of the stoppages happen. It's kind of a quiet hot round there if you're not like
Yeah.
a round one guy because now and especially now with everybody fucking fighting off through injuries, through crime syndicates trying to get their money, trying to fill the UFC schedule. Like once it gets to round three, it doesn't matter who's winning or losing. Like the fights usually will go to the distance at that point, you know. So
we
round
don't
two is
see
kind of a low key round.
we don't see much round three finishes nowadays, man.
No, I mean we had one again. We talked about it. Thank you, Ethan Ewing. I know my guy MMA Plays was on that in your chat there. But yeah, I gotta go. I'm hoping I'm wrong, by the way. But I think it's gonna be round two Gaslam TKO. Otherwise, it's just the most depressing decision. That's
Okay, yeah.
almost as depressing as seeing Luque getting stopped again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And
going this one is going to suck. I have very little faith in this being a fun fight, to be honest.
And last thing I'll add, because it's going to play into analysis later in the card, is that I was watching Luque, and he does this a lot, and he did it in the Bilal fights. He did it in the Neil fight, whether he's facing a southpaw or not, is he will sometimes switch to match stance if you go southpaw. And I know it's a tactic, and there's sense to it. Nick Sick will train a lot of his guys off it. But it's really dangerous when you're going against a guy who just auto throws one twos,
Yeah.
because I talk about it, oh, the southpaw killer shot, right?
And
And we've seen where the guy who's not a southpaw, like a Jorge Masvidal, throw it on the lifelong southpaw Darren Till, and it'll catch the lifelong southpaw by surprise, right? But in this case, the lifelong southpaw is Gastelum. So if Luque goes and tries to get cute and switches, I just see him getting clocked with a left hand. Does that make sense,
yeah,
Fenya?
yeah, for sure. And also like I never liked Luke from Salpo. Like he doesn't really have a lot going
Yes.
on.
Ugh.
And
Bad decisions.
the
Yeah.
worst part about Luke from Salpo is that he doesn't have a right hook. And when you're a left hook
Yes.
guy, like it's so weird that you switch and you don't have the
Dude.
opposite. Like so yeah, because if Luke had a right hook, that would be a great tool against Gastelum if he went Salpo. But if he goes Salpo, I think he's only going to go Salpo to get cracked with left hands, man. So
Yeah,
yeah.
dude, and his Instagram and all his training photos, he's like going southpaw on the pads or against his partners. I'm like, oh
Oh
no,
no.
this is not going to be good.
Oh
Oh
my
no!
god. Yeah. Better,
All right, sorry,
better,
that's all I made that point.
better move on to the next one.
Yeah,
We have the hidden banger of the night. We have a lightweight bout between Merkel Maderos and Chris Taco Padilla. So
uh,
Maderos used to be a Factory X guy, and it's like a very Factory X kind of guy because he's a brutal leg kicker that likes to
yes,
move around. He's like very on that like Chris Gutierrez mold. Um, but now he's at the MMA lab, which I feel
yeah,
it's a great fit for him, man.
same.
MMA lab so good at transitions, always on the bleeding edge of transitions in MMA, honestly. And I feel like that's a great fit. I felt like Medeiros looked very good in his last fight. On the other hand, we have Padilla, who is like stalker, like power striker, who is like more like he's not like super deep technically, but he's like crafty. You know, he has a lot of tricks in many areas. especially dangerous with elbows. He likes the knees in transitions. Um, he likes to like he plays like the long game when it comes to setups. Like he's the kind of guy that throws like 5-1-2s only to catch you with the overhand on the six. He's that kind of guy, and he's very physically strong too, and a decent grappler, which is like maybe the route he's going to take here against Maderos. I feel like Maderos has the potential to be annoying for him at range, but Maderos obviously needs to be very careful with the counters coming his way when he tries to set up his leg kicks. But he's pretty crafty about setting leg kicks here. Um, but yeah, I'm very interested in seeing how the clinch goes because Medeiros has his chops inside the clinch too. He's aggressive there. He's urgent. And Padilla, I feel like he's more of the kind of guy that likes to have you settle inside the clinch to set up like those big elbows or catch you during breaks.
Yes, yeah.
And also the wrestling from Padilla comes from inside the clinch a lot of like upper body stuff, trips, body locks, a polished throw. So he likes that kind of stuff. So I'm very interested in seeing how do you see this one playing out.
Yeah, yeah, man. So I think off the breaks is gonna be key to catch Maderos. I do agree though that the clinch, at least I hope, which might spoil where I'm leading. I hope it's not as, easy for Padilla in the clinch, to your point, because Madero's real active. He's got his own elbows, folds, and I like his counter wrestling too. He really is good interplay of his over and unders.
Yeah,
He circles really well off the fence. And I also like that he mixes in takedown attempts. And even those he'll use to kind of, I'll call it high level because, like we talk about all the time in the analysis space where guys doing fancy footwork doesn't mean good footwork. Like, to me, Padilla, or not Padilla, Maderos, when he'll go and use an inside single, head outside single just to turn opponent and get superior cage craft position. Like, to me, that's better footwork than um than any kind of fancy striking footwork. We'll talk about it with another guy who is is in a matchup where defending takedowns is going to be key for him to win. And I didn't see them just not just defending it correctly, like we're talking about with Maderos, where he's using the overhooks, he's separating grips, but I like when they turn as well, right? Because it's not just about
yeah,
your hips, it's not just about your grips or your head position, right? Or your timing. It's about turning. You have even if you're doing all the right things, if you're not turning them, they could push your perfect sprawl and they could push your back to the fence, right? Which is
exactly.
what
Yeah,
guys like Khabib and stuff made their career off of. Like, fine, I'm not going to get the first takedown. That's fine. I just need to make contact with you because most of you guys can't turn or separate, and I'll get you to the fence and get the rest of my game going. Um, Now Padilla, he's got underrated ground games, and whether you're wiki capping them or just looking at his earlier fights, you see it more, and I think that's more of a matchup thing, because most of his and also it's a stylistic thing because I think his grappling is good, and he has rear naked choke wins. He has takedowns that he'll go to from the clinch and in open space. They're not the greatest, but he will listen to his coaches when they call for it. He'll go for these things, Chris Padilla. But threat, the Mark Choinsky fight, who took that fight on short notice and was able to backpack Maderos in round three, that becomes less crazy because as you go and watch the tape of Maderos, he does have that. And maybe it'll get better, even though a lot of John Crouch fighters will expose their back as well, but they'll do it with a wrist control and smartly, guys like from Brian Barberina on up. Like that's really well trained in that gym. Like I agree with Fenya. That's a really good move, I think. But he does give his back, right? And a guy like Maderos who looks like he's got volume. His power is it's weird because he's really effective with leg kicks. He works the body a lot. But it's his headshots that sometimes I'm like, they're finessey, but like, does he lack the power? Like Fenyo, like I I think he's moving less away from this, hopefully for his sake. But initially I thought he was one of those Factory X guys, and not in a bad way, but one of those Factory X guys where it's like, oh yeah, he's got that fluff, he's got that swagger, and he's got all these moves, and he actually looks like he can switch to southpaw, knows what he's doing, will change angles. But it's one of those things where we've seen it, Fenya, where it's like sometimes it's more obvious, sometimes it's not so obvious. But we see these really kind of flashy, flamboyant potential games kind of crumble when they hit a certain level. of fighter or a certain level of fundamentals. We see it all fall apart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And part of me is worried. I'm picking Maderos here, spoiler, but part of me is worried that he's due for that, like, oh, see his, and this is would be too unfair, but one of those performances that has people going, see, his game wasn't good all along. You know what I'm saying, Fenio? Does that make sense?
yeah,
Did you get any of
yeah,
those vibes from Maderos?
yeah. I feel like yeah, and it's a kind of game that like gives you a lot of confidence when it's working, but it makes you
Yes.
kind of desperate when it's not working. Um, a- and I feel like
Yeah, like I could see him. Go ahead.
yeah, because like it's like something you see like with Chris Gutierrez, like he's so used to like the pieces falling in place that when they don't,
Yes.
he kind of like panics a little bit. He's like, I need you to react to this feint, so this setups the leg kick, and then when I set up this number of leg kicks, I can go do this, and sometimes it's not even that they don't have a game, because we saw in Gutierrez last fight, he just got aggressive on Basharat and started like kicking his ass immediately, which was crazy, right?
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and I
exactly.
feel like
Yeah.
I feel like that. Hopefully, I feel like the MMA lab is better at that than Factory X on like giving that mentality to your guy to just like when things are going wrong, you just go to Plan B and start doing stuff. You stop like thinking so much about it, which I feel it's something that Montoya guys for whatever reason tend to fall into that place. Even though Montoya clearly hates it when that happens, but it happens to his guys a lot, man.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think he's moved away from that to your point with the MMA lab, and I also think the MMA lab's good because it's got one of the best stables of 135. And they got a bunch of good 145ers as well and 155ers. So like that whole grouping at MMA lab, it's one of the best gyms in the country in like North America, really. And if he does, again, he's good. They're going to be able to sharpen his get up game, right? And as far as back takers go, you have some of the best rear naked choke artists in that gym. It's been that way for a minute, right?
Oh yeah.
You got from the even that Tommy McMillan guy who's not as good, but you have a bunch of dudes like in that gym that are coming up too. Even that just have wicked RNC games. So I think he's going to be good there. And in fact, even though that's one of his detriments, where you're like, okay, maybe a hardcore wrestler back a jiu-jitsu guy might be, because I don't know if you do this, Fenyo. Sometimes I think, okay, what is like if I were to design what's the worst matchup for this guy? Does this fighter fit it, and how close does he fit it? And if he fits it pretty close, why
Yeah.
am I so trepidatious on picking him? You know what I'm saying? Sometimes I'll do that. And I'm like, even though Padilla, he's got rear naked chokes on his record, we've seen him go for it before. And he's not that he's not athletic. He's super strong, right? Super competent. But I don't see him like doing like the same type of chains that even a guy like Mark Chewinski, even on short notice, was able to do. Like
Yeah.
it just doesn't look like Padilla's style. He's more of just let it come to you. Like you said, he likes to get settled before he strikes, right? He likes to get
Uh,
settled
yeah, and
or capitalize on your mistakes.
that's a bit of a trap with Padilla in this matchup, because I feel like a lot of people see that he fights from this like narrow stance with the light lead leg, and they say like, oh, this is a Muay Thai guy. He's not going to get leg kicked. But the thing is that
No,
Medeiros is going to be moving him around, and when he's moving around is when he's going to kick the legs in this matchup. I feel
yes, yes.
I feel like Medeiros will be surprisingly effective with the leg kicks in this one actually.
Me too, because Padilla, to your point, and you look at Padilla's past fights, I forget who it was off the top of my head. I want to say it was Jai Herbert. That was a weird fight. He did score with it, but I think it was the fight even before the Jai Herbert fight. And fights that he's won, but he actually gets tagged in the legs pretty bad. He doesn't check legs very well, and he's so dedicated to a high guard that it's body shots and
The
leg
long
kicks
body
all day.
shots, yeah. Medeiros love
And what is
the rear straights.
exactly? Yeah, and when he goes southpaw, he's not just body kicking. He'll rear straight. He actually puts combos together. Again, he angles. But this could be like a. Forgive me, this is I don't mean a direct comparison, but like a TJ Dillashaw, Henan Barrow dynamic as far as the footwork goes. You know what I'm saying? Like he's actually angling and shifting with a purpose against a more maybe stationary guy who's very dangerous, but needs more of that maybe stationary fight. Maybe a bad example, but that's kind of
No,
how I
yeah,
see it.
I see it.
And and that's kind of why I lean toward Maderos because you look at the puzzle piece on the other end. And Maderos, even though he's gotten a lot of decisions, dude, he's been breaking down people's legs consistently in fights.
Yeah,
It's a real consistent thing he does. And he's going to have the big cage to move around, to move that footwork, which also means less corralling positions for
exactly. Yeah.
clashing elbows and takedowns for Padilla. I actually went with Padilla here. I also am going to take the over in a parlay because I do think this goes over, and so do the bookmakers, Fanyo. I'm guessing you think this goes long regardless of who you're picking.
Yeah.
And I may even also for my round robin, just to kind of cover my bases. So if Maderos doesn't win, hopefully he loses by decision, or Fenyo, hopefully he loses by split decision because I'm going to put the
Oh,
split decision
that one's
in my.
crazy.
I hit that too with my Nathaniel Wood and Lucien Keita fight because I'm like I
Yeah,
know
yeah, I
this is going to be
remember
a
that.
fucking split. And if they rob Wood, it's going to be not that it was a robbery in that fight. It would have been either way. But I'm just saying if they take it away from him, it was going to be a split,
At
right?
least it's a
Um,
split. Yeah, yeah.
so that's my read here. What do you think of that, Fenyo? Sorry, long
Yeah,
winded. What do
I
you think
agree
of
with
that?
you. Very good points. And I think yeah, like I feel like on the first layer, Padilla looks very dangerous for Maderos. But the more I think about it, I feel like uh Padilla might have some big moments and might be able to win a round and a half. So that puts him into the split decision
Yes,
territory. But
moments versus minutes.
yeah, uh, but if Maderos gets ahead with the leg kicks, I feel like Padilla is going to have a hard time in this one. But yeah, Padilla looks very very tough, so I'm picking Maderos by decision here.
All right, we're on the same page. Let's go, baby. Whenever I'm on the same page as you, I'm like, ah. Except I'm on the podcast now, so I can share it with you.
Okay, next fight is contested at strawweight. We have Tatiana
Oh
Suarez
man,
versus Lupita Godinez, and yeah, not much to say here. Both girls wrestlers, obviously not to the same degree. Lupi was like a high school wrestler in Canada, which is very different to Tatiana Cyrus, who was supposed to go to the Olympics. So we gotta watch the proportions here. But Lupi is a very solid wrestler in MMA so far, and we know like defending takedowns in MMA is a lot easier than getting them.
yeah,
Uh, Suarez, maybe not physically the same after so many injuries. She still looked very strong, but she didn't look as quick and as imposing physically against Lemos. Mind you, that's Amanda Lemos, who is like a freak of nature. So maybe it comes a bit to that. But by the way, I don't think that Tatiana Suarez won that fight against Amanda Lemos if we go by damage actually.
yeah,
Um,
same, yeah, same.
yeah, but yeah, I mean the dynamic here is very clear. Suarez is going to be looking for takedowns. Lupi, who has a very stocky and strong frame, she's going to look for the sprawls, the snapdowns. The snapdowns are kind of risky here, and Lupi likes the snapdowns to defend takedowns quite a lot, and I feel like those are very dangerous against Suarez because Suarez always surprised with having the longest arms in the world, and she just like
Yes,
you try to grab a front headlock and she still gets the double leg, and she has insane
yeah.
drive too. And Lupi not impossible to take down. Like she had moments of her back against Birna, against Mackenzie, if I'm not mistaken. So Lupi has not been impossible to take down. And even if this one stays on the feet, like yeah, Lupi is the better striker of the two, but she's kind of stocky. She needs to get very close. And Suarez is like a powerful southpaw kicker, and that can be very annoying for someone shorter. So I don't know, man. I'm just like siding with Suarez. I feel like even if Suarez is not super consistent with the takedowns will do enough to like mute the offense of Lupi, who finds herself in super close fights all the time. And I feel like either like Suarez gets enough volume on the feet or gets the takedowns straight up to do damage. But I feel like yeah, I'm gonna go with my pick immediately here. I'm going Suarez by decision. What do you think then?
I I hate it because I don't disagree with Suarez being favored. She opened as a minus 225 favorite, Fenyo, so over a 2-1 favorite. I don't know if you agree with that or not, but money came in publicly since then. And now she's almost a dollar cheaper. She's a minus 150 favorite in some places. And I got to say, Fenyo, that's tempting. You know, I know I'm speaking in numbers to you. I'll get to the analysis, obviously,
Oh,
but I
okay,
feel
sure.
like this is what they call a buy low spot. You get what I'm saying? But the dangerous part is it's a women's MMA fight. It's not just an MMA fight we're talking about here. It's a women's MMA fight, and it's a women's MMA fight with another fighter again who probably peaked in 2018 to 2019. Remember we were talking about that just a couple fights ago?
Yeah, for sure.
Suarez is another one of those fighters where we have to remember to be breaking her down of this version. That was a even though I stand by the reads I made in that fight, and I even have certain clips, which was funny because it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, Suarez does this, and Whaley gets caught by that, right?
Yeah.
And I remember the exact like scenario. And the funny part, if you in the fight, I think it's like round 1 or 2, Fenyo, that same exchange happens, except it's flipped. It was Whaley putting Suarez on her ass in the same way. And, you know, and I'm sure we've all been there, right? Making these predictions where, like, you think you have a cool prediction and it's like the complete opposite. Or, like, you pick a guy to get finished in round 3 and it's the other guy that finishes in round 3. Or,
Yeah.
It's like one of those things, right? So I was just like, oh, crap. And I bring that up to say that, you know, even though I would later be proven right about problems with distance against a southpaw who had superior wrestling with the Whaley read, my problem was I was making the complete wrong Suarez read, Fanny. I'm acting like this was Suarez who was still improving from fight to fight and had room to improve back in 2018, right? Before all these injuries, years of injuries and layoffs, right?
Yeah.
And now it's quietly, what, 8 years since that peak where we're putting the Khabib hat on Suarez? You know what I'm saying? So I'm actually calling myself out there to, justfully so, to add to a point you made where it's like we have to remember to break these fighters down where they're at now. And where they're at now, even though she should be able to do to Lupita Gdinez what she did to Carla Esparza, and you know me, we just talked about off air. I rate Carla Esparza very high. She was like my Verna Hanjijoba cash cow. This is the same dynamic. They got discounted for the same reasons, and I don't want to do that to Lupita here. But with Suarez, you know, her injuries, and as we talk about too, another canary in the coal mine, right? Where it's like, oh, are they going to finally get back to their wrestling? Is their wrestling going to step up? Well, as you get older, they always say that trope, right? Or they'd say like Dan Henderson, right? Oh, the wrestler falls in love with his hands. It's a tale as old as time. I don't think it's quite that clear. I don't think it's because they realize they're Dan Henderson most of the time, because most people aren't Dan Henderson, right, Fenyo? It's because wrestling is very hard to do and taxing, even when you are a wrestler in your prime, much less when you're getting older and your gas tank's going down. You're getting older and you're acquiring injuries that usually we don't know about, but we do with Suarez. Go ahead.
And one thing to consider here is that, and I feel people don't quite get this one, is that people that do freestyle as opposed to folk style, they a
Yeah.
lot harder on the knees, and that's exactly
Yes.
like why is Joel Romero not shooting for takedowns all the time? Why is Daniel Cormier going for efficient takedowns? Why is Tatiana Suarez not having the most explosive shot anymore? All freestyle guys. So
Yeah. Yeah, and rigor and they were high level ones too, in high level programs. So you know they were going through rigorous training programs. And the American style, it's not like Russian style where you're drilling and keeping healthy.
no, they go.
American style, they're like push through your pain, you know,
Yeah,
and that's the only reason why Suarez, because she fucked her neck up so bad. That's the only reason why they even found the cancer in the first place.
Yep.
Is because of the repetitive neck injuries, which is kind of crazy. But the point is, you know, you go to Suarez now, and she looks like she's still at I've been at extreme, so I haven't seen her, you know, whereas like when I was more active, I was actually sharing a lot of the cage when she was having her striking privates. And I still think she works with Nate Pettit, who works with like some of the other southpaws, like Puna and some of the other guys. But she's one of those like where the like a lot of fighters here in Vegas where they're just doing their own camps out of the PI, basically. You know, they got their own group.
Okay.
And she also goes to this boxing gym and looks like she's been really spending a lot of time with her boxing. So basically, to sum this up, because we're probably talking about this fight too long already, Fenyo, but basically, this is going to be your classic girls who come from wrestling bases who are going to box it out. Lupita, because, you know, she's in that stage where she's still developing that part of the game, so it makes sense for her to fall into that trapping, especially against a fighter where it's going to be dangerous and hard to take down. And Suarez, for the reasons we mentioned, because she's old and who knows how much she can even wrestle, it's just going to be a boxing match. And I'll say this, I'll pick Suarez because of the length, the volume, and the power will all be on her side. But I want to mention this, Suarez is a southpaw. Gdinez, 0-0 against UFC level lefties, but she did fight Luana Carolina, who is just a classic Bruno Silva Brazilian who lists himself as one stance and fights out of the other and completely
Yeah,
fucks up my whole shit, right? But she is an orthodox fighter who lists herself orthodox, but some fights she'll just randomly fight southpaw, like
the
Bruno
whole fight.
Blindado
Yeah,
Silva, right? Yeah. And this was a fight where she did it against Lupi. And Lupi, I know she went up, so there was a weight difference in that fight. This fight was almost quietly 5 years ago now, right? When Lupita
yeah.
first got in. I know, but the fact is, unless she developed a range game out of nowhere, which she still doesn't have, Fenyo, she looked completely lost against a long, tall southpaw who was throwing kicks. And Carolina has no process, by the way. She's like one of those wacky tube inflatable arms guy,
Yeah,
wacky
she's
tube inflatable
exactly
arms
that.
guy.
She's
And
exactly that.
so, and
She's
that was enough to
maybe
like
the
fuck up.
most of all time.
Oh yes, yeah, totally. And Lupita, like you could see like the reflection of the wacky tube guy in her eyes, and she just didn't like it. She just kept
Yeah.
shooting. Like she did not like being at space, whether it was the southpaw, the range, or the length. But she's gonna have to worry about all those. So
Yeah,
give
I
me
would.
Suarez, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm
Sorry,
also siding with Suarez. I wish Lupi won
decision.
here actually because I see more upside in her right
Yeah,
now. But yeah,
sure.
it's crazy. I was checking back and it's like I saw Suarez like walk over Alexa Grasso live because that was here in Santiago.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, nice.
that was 7 years ago. That's insane, man. Like
Wow.
that's where people were saying that Suarez was the next Habib. Like
Yes, yeah. Like, almost 8 years ago.
almost eight, yeah. So yeah, it's. I mean, I'm picking
Crazy.
I'm picking Suarez, but I would not be surprised if
Same,
she looks like shot to pieces here. Not that I'm
same.
not that I'm wishing that on her, obviously not, but I would not be surprised. Moving on to the next fight. Uh, oh my god, I don't know what to think about this one. We have Mateusz Gamrot putting his ranking on the line against Esteban El Gringo Ribovics. Um, so this is like the most classic like striker versus grappler you can get. I mean, Gamrot.
Yeah,
Not that Gamrot is not going to strike at all, but if there's someone that is going to make you hate being on the feet and make you shoot if you're a wrestler, that one is Reevic especially. Um, so yeah, this is a big test. If we consider, if we, I think that if we have to draw parallels here, I think many people would like link Reevic to Klein,
yeah,
but
yeah.
as a contrast, like yeah, maybe Reevic is not like the super strong athlete, like super athletic guy that Klein is. I mean, Reevic's a very decent athlete in his own right, but he's not that
Yeah.
super explosive guy. But what Reevic has going for him is that first, Reevic's a lot more comfortable inside. Uh, Klein obviously punches very hard, but despite being a
Yes.
very stocky guy for the division, he likes his long range.
Yes.
And Klein is all about big motion, big movements. Reevic's a lot more about layer combinations that start with shots that are not 100% to set up harder
Yep.
shots. Reevic's boxes to the body a lot, so all of those are very good for this guy. You might think that he likes to box inside. That's worse against a wrestler. But actually means you're more comfortable with inside footwork, with pommeling,
Yep.
with that kind of stuff. I feel like often like guys that are more strictly out strikers, I feel like they are more vulnerable to the inside. And also like Reevic's like Klein has a very solid top game, but from bottom he's always been very lacking. Like he relies on like fierce motion, like push off the hips and explode. He doesn't have much of a game. Ribovic's for his part, like if you go back to his career, he used to be like kind of like a gimmicky Kimura guy. Like he was a guy that
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
finding Kimuras from crazy positions. And like Gamrot, not the most smothering guy in the world, so maybe that could work here to get back to the feet. And I can see this being like a very close Gamrot fight, like the Jalen Turner, like Dan Hooker. He had another one. I don't remember. Gamrot had quite a few of those like that are contested against the cage, and he's getting outstruck, but he's still getting the takedowns. I can see this fight being one of those, but
Yes.
I still don't know if I can. I really wish I could trust Reevics here, but it looks kind of sketchy, man.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a sketchy fight for sure. I told you obviously fight goes to split decision plus 325. Ooh, that's tempting. I'm tempted, you know. So I was just like, it's dog or pass. It's Reevic round three or pass. You know, that's my
Yeah.
initial instincts because, you know, I was telling Venya, they always like pitch the matchups. Like, what do you think of these upcoming matchups? And I always feel like the fuck. I mean, I guess I kind of am that guy. I'm not trying to be that guy. To you know shit in everybody's cereal, but I always have like something negative to say about the matchups. But I was telling Fenyo, in my defense, like 90% of the matchups are trash we get today. So
Yeah.
I mean, can you blame me? You know, and they asked me about this one, and I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, they buried Reevic after a fight of the year twice in good matchups at the Apex for him. And one where, and I don't think it was, by the way, I didn't think it was a robbery at the time. And I'm actually, I dare say, a little more sympathetic to a Nazrat nod, even though Reevic is my guy and I lost out on that.
Yeah,
But
I felt like yeah, I felt like round three was very strong for Reevic, if I remember correctly.
it was round
But
three. Round one was the swing round on the cards.
okay, and two
But you
was
could
very
on
clear for Nasrat, right? Or not
yes,
that
but it
clear.
was
Okay.
they were both more competitive than let on. It was one of
Okay.
those things. But round one was the official swing round. And to be fair, Nazrat, even if you don't like him and you don't like how he's progressed, his style, it was arguably his best performance as a complete fighter to date. That fight, you could argue. Whether or not you thought he won, I would actually make that argument because
I
you
was
just
very
look at it, his
surprised.
his guard
Yeah.
was very good.
I was very
Go ahead.
surprised because Nasrat initially was like very similar to Gilbert Gastelum, just one twos and that's it.
Yeah,
And
pressure one
that's
two.
yeah, and that's what made me lean Reevic because I thought like if Reevic gets inside, he has a huge advantage.
Yes.
But early on, Nasrat was using his footwork, was layering combinations, and he was competing with Reevic inside the pocket, which was very surprising in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, he was spot on, and Reevic wasn't fighting smart too. Like
Yeah,
I
he
didn't
fought like an
go again.
idiot on the first two.
It was like it was a very Robert Whitaker Duplessis performance, except he doesn't have the excuse where he's a headhunter in every fight like Robert Whitaker.
Yeah,
Basically, Reevic, he actually kind of abandoned his body punching, and even his corner and the commentary were picking up and giving him shit for it in that Nazrat fight. So it was like a perfect storm of Reevic fighting stupid and not going away from his body work uncharacteristically against a guy who was high guarding, right, which was weird. Like he was inviting the body work, but he gets back on his bullshit in a good way against Elvis Brenner, and in that fight he defends like 6 takedowns in the first round, and he goes perfect. He defends like 9 or 10 the whole fight from Elvis Brenner, and Brenner is much better fighter than his record indicates, and his wrestling and offensive wrestling is actually what's improved the most in Brenner's game
yeah,
because, and we talked about this before, Fenyo, you could tell he was the guy that had to play Makachev for Charles
yeah,
Oliveira, all those
yeah.
camps.
And shoot the box, man. Very strong wrestling camp, man.
Yeah, underrated wrestling as well. And then Brenner, you know, he might not like have the most impressive physique, but he's a big physical guy, strong,
Yeah, for sure.
very tough. And what I liked was what I alluded to earlier, Fenyo, is not that just, you know, we've seen Reevic, you know, he knows how to hip out and sprawl and like Gaethje style where he sprawls, goes the high hoisting whizzer and breaks the grip with the other hand at the
Yeah,
same time. He has all these good mechanics, but what I liked is that he was turning with the takedown defenses in that fight against Brenner. He was turning and he was sprawling and then turning. And
you know who
seeing the
remind
flow.
me? He remind me one teammate of him,
Yeah.
Michael Johnson. Very similar takedown
Yeah.
defense to Michael Johnson when he's on point. Like the strong
Yeah,
sprawl,
when he's
but
on
Michael
point.
Johnson always makes sure to grab to take an angle with the sprawl and
Yep.
circle with the wizard.
Yep. And thankfully, Brenner was able to get on the grappling early, so we got an honest look at how Reevic would handle it. Obviously, Brenner and Gamrot are two different fighters, but Brenner is a layered takedown artist and is a layered grappler. So you got exchanges where we saw layered grappling defense that we just talked about,
Yep.
but even on the ground, like Brenner was doing smart wrestle ups from single legs, and I liked that. Even though, again, and that's another thing too, is that Gamrot is not a game over grappling artist. So, you know, he can get takedowns, but he's not going to be game over from your back or whatever. But I like that Reevic was holding onto the whizzer. And like during that wrestle up, like it was really smooth. He was stepping over. He almost threatened a back step, which is a very like riskier, high leveler jiu-jitsu defense to a wrestle up. But like I was really impressed. Like he was flowing really well and maybe grappling more than you'd want him to against somebody who wants to grapple him. But again, as long as he's not getting stuck in negative positions, Gamrot's not a game over grappler. And if he
Yeah.
is stuck in a negative position, kind of like we were talking about with Maderos, like in round 3 against Hubbard, where say what you will about giving his back, that's what won him the Hubbard fight, right? He was willing to give his back against a guy who was more experienced than Hubbard, but Hubbard not a game over back taker. So
No.
those are the guys you can give your back against, and you
Exactly.
can
Yeah.
roll the dice. And Reevic, we know that we don't have to worry about him rolling the dice. He will roll the dice. He will fight. He won't get tired. He will
He
throw the
won't get accept
volume.
a bottom position and do nothing. He rather take a risk. And that's like
Eh,
the right approach against Gamro, actually.
Right. And even though Gamrot's record is impressive, and I'm not a Gamrot hater by any means, I don't know where you stand on his style, Fenyo, but he's older now. Not to lean too much into that, but it is a real factor, right? We have been seeing that his pace isn't as relentless as it was before. We've
Yeah,
been
for
seeing,
sure.
which makes sense as you get older, and he's fighting at the higher weight class, not the lower one. He is not, he's not reacting to pressure or punches well. I know it's kind of crazy to think that he was a pick'em price against Charles Oliveira just last year with how the fight played out, but if you remember that, he was actually landing good shots on Oliveira, right, to kind of cover his
Yeah, for
price tag
sure.
there.
He was
But
exploiting
the
the high guard, man.
pressure, yeah, but the pressure, he just did not like that pressure.
No,
He
he
likes when
was
he's the
looking
one pressuring.
he was looking good when he was looking for marching forwards. And then Oliveira like convinced
Yes.
himself that because Oliveira, I always maintain this, he has like a mental block when he feels like he can get top game and he
Yeah.
dials down the pressure a lot. But I feel like
Yeah.
after the first few scrambles, he was like, okay, I don't have to fear this guy, and he got on his face, and it was over for Gamro at that moment.
Yeah. And as impressive as Gamrot's run has been, all fighters get figured out, and his style has never been criteria friendly. So
And
I'm surprised he hasn't been taxed more.
and
And,
his losses to Hooker and Benit Dariush have not aged very well. I mean, I felt
no.
like Dariush looked fantastic in his fight against
Right.
Gamrot, so I'm not taking much away from that one. But that Hooker, man, he didn't look great, and he hasn't looked great since. So
No. And let's not forget, like, that's the thing too. It's like, oh, well, when you look at his record and you judge him stylistically, even before looking at his record, you're like, oh, stylistically, let me guess. If this guy has a little bit of losses, I'm guessing there were guys who could match his wrestling, right? And if you look at his record, that might hold true, especially if you look at the alternate record where obviously he didn't beat Arman Sarukian, right? Like if you count that, you're like, oh yeah, guys who can wrestle can beat him. However, if you look at that alternate record,
he
no,
didn't
no, it
beat
doesn't matter because
he didn't beat Jalen Turner either. So
exactly, Jalen Turner, exactly. That's another guy who can't wrestle for shit, and he beat him, in my opinion. Right?
yeah, he
At
did.
least made it close enough for a split, but he beat him for anyone watching that fight. Same with Hooker. Hooker's not known for his wrestling defense at all, right? So it's not like it's a prerequisite. So I'm like sitting there judging Reevic hard. I'm ready to pick against him, Fenyo, but I'm like, you know what? I think he can win this. Can he lose it? Absolutely. Can he win it and still lose it? Absolutely, because it's Gamrot, right? But
It's a
as
Gamro
crazy as it
roulette.
is, yeah. But that being said, man, as crazy it is, I'm gonna pick him here. This is his third or fourth camp at Killcliff FC. He's working with Usman over there, and these guys in the training room. Jared Gordon, who's a good partner, I think, as well. By the way, for wrestling, teaching jiu-jitsu
Oh yeah, for
and
sure.
stuff like that. He's gonna give him a lot of really good tips. Yeah, I'm gonna take a flyer on Reevic here, man. I haven't decided if I'm gonna play him yet, Fenyo. I could. It makes sense with the structure. But here's the thing, right? So I think I'll play the round 3 alone, right? And I want to be greedy, even though I should put fight goes to split in the round robin. Maybe I'm a little greedy from last week. I want to have a round 3 in my round robin, right? But at the same time, I could be smart and put some insurance for a split decision, right? But here's the thing: is as far as just a bet goes on Reevic by itself, him straight up and by any method, right? At plus money, his money line, Fenyo. Even though it's good plus money at plus 155, I almost wonder if I should wait and bet live because we know that win or lose, Gamrot's going to get takedowns, right? And
Yeah.
unless Reevic pulls a Terrence McKinney and knocks him out in the first right away, you're gonna get a better number on Reevic live. So for example, kind of how the live odds work, especially if it's a striker grappler dynamic, and the grappler gets a takedown. If he's plus 155 going into the fight, Feño, chances are he's probably going to be plus 250 to plus 300 once Gamrot gets a takedown. And then you fire a bet on Reevic because you know he's going to get up and then maybe have a chance to win later. Do you get what I'm saying here?
Yeah.
That's the question I have in my mind as far as playing Reevic because it's a dangerous fight. It's a sketchy fight, but I'm going to pick the dog. And right now I'm debating, Feño, do I play him pre-flop or do I wait until Gamrot gets some takedowns and see how he's doing first? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that could be the play because that could tell you a lot, man. Because it's like Reevic is like getting taken down but getting up and not looking like super frustrated and tired. Maybe you get like
and
very
you
good
and
odds.
you get a
Yeah.
bigger too. It's like
Yeah.
I'll feel a lot better losing a plus 300 live than I will plus 155
Yeah, for
pre-flop.
sure.
You know,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Still losing money, but I feel a lot better about it.
I'm going for the analysis on the big side. Uh, I gotta pick who I think is going to win, not who the judges
Sure,
are going to
sure.
pick. So I'm going Reevic. I think he's going to win.
Wow, there we go. There we go, baby. There we go.
Gamro is getting his ass kicked again. And maybe he wins a split decision, but he doesn't win the actual fight.
Yes. Regardless of result, Gamrot's getting his ass kicked. I think that's what we can agree on.
Then
Regardless of result, Gamrot's getting his ass kicked.
Yeah,
There we
for
go.
sure. I think we agree on that one. Yeah. Okay, moving on.
Fucking hell. All right. A lot of cope there from us, but we're Reevic boys, all right?
We move to welterweight, and we have the. This is not junk weight. This is lank weight. This
Yeah,
is
what the hell is
weight.
this?
I mean, both guys pretty janky actually. So this is like lanky junk weight.
Yeah.
Lank
Yes.
junk weight.
Yes,
So-
lank weight. I love that. Oh my God.
Okay, we have Kevin Holland against Randy Brown, and the tall versus tall guys fights. I feel like they are always. I don't trust Kevin Holland to have like fun fights all the time anymore, but the tall versus tall fights are always a mess, and I love them because
Yes.
both guys are going to look so sloppy at times. Like, do you remember James Big versus Dan Hooker back in the day?
Oh my gosh, that
It's
was
so
such a
ugly,
mess.
man.
Yeah. Oh
And then
my
Hooker
gosh.
and then Hooker versus Turner was also insane.
hmm
Like tall guy versus tall guy is always a mess. So I count on this. I feel like honestly, I feel like Randy Brown has the better style for fighting a fellow tall guy, honestly.
Yep.
But I don't know, man. I feel like Randy Brown has a dog, but he has a dog that doubts himself when he's fighting another dog, and Kevin
Yeah.
Holland, for all his faults and all his, you could say maybe mediocrity, like he's a dog, man, and I'm scared that he can drag Randy Brown to some deep waters, man. Because I feel like Randy Brown is superior technically, man.
Yes. And the results would agree with you, by the way. Randy Brown's been beating tall guys since like that 6'4", that super tall guy he beat off of Looking for a Fight, who fought in the UFC at welterweight. And he's done well. It's not really been tall guys who have beaten him. But when Randy Brown has been beaten, he's shown that he can kind of be abruptly beaten. He can just be winning and then lose, or medium stalemate and then lose. And Kevin Holland, who doesn't have the best process, even though it got a little better at welterweight when he dropped down and got serious for a split second there, about 3 years ago, right? But even with Kevin with Kevin Holland, say what you will about him, but he can find finishes out of nowhere, right? Sometimes, and he's got some weird abrupt finishes on his record. So you have that dynamic.
And Kevin Holland, even when he's losing, man, he still like manages to create some bullshit, man. Like he was getting murdered by Dero at times, and he almost had like 3 different comebacks in that fight, man. It was insane. Like
that UFC 318 card was sick. It was insane. I had. Again, like I keep missing the one thing I haven't hit, Feño, was cycle parlays. I almost hit one the other week, by the way. I had Chiesa by submission, McKinney by KO, and Yanez by decision.
Oh,
and we know what happened to Yanez, so that it's like, oh, yeah. I should have hit it, right? I should have hit it probably, right? Right?
Yeah, that was...
and last week I wasn't too mad about it. I think I had like Yakyaev by KO and he got the sub. But then other than that, I had Makano by sub. and that hit. And then my decision leg was Delano, and that hit. I kind of hit a cycle in my round robin because I hit Makano sub, Delano decision, and I hit Ewing round 3, but he KO'd him. So it's kind of a cycle there, and it paid more than a cycle. So I'm not complaining. But it's funny. I went back to that UFC 318 card. I had 2 cycles. I forget. I had 2 different guys by decision. I had Crude as my submission leg for both those. And so I had 2 cycles ready to hit, but it was Holland by knockout. And Holland let the betting community down so big that one that it almost overshadows, like the hate for Holland right now almost overshadows what you just said, Fenya, that he is a dog. Because when, I don't know about what you thought going back to watch that Mike Malott fight, but I'm like, wow, I thought I was just going to blind pick Malott over Durinho, but I'm not so sure now, for one, if that makes sense, you know. But 2, say what you will about Kevin Holland, but how do you not feel bad about him there, you know? I know we've talked about this before, Fenyo, and it was a classic. It was Dan Mergliata too, where he gets like he gets like that with certain hockey fighters, potentially of color. You know, you know, and he's done it to Holland himself before, where he's like, quit that showboating shit, and he'll almost hold it. You'll see like refs like get mad at a fighter, and when you see no points or like late stoppages, like from Herb or something, it's usually because like the fighter was challenging them before on some shit, and he's like, no, I'm in charge here. I'm the ref. I say when it's over. And then it turns into a boy who cried wolf thing, because after something controversial, something legit will happen, like a legit foul, right?
And I think that he don't want to call it because
yeah, no one wanted, and then, you know, Big Dan didn't want to take the point because he had his own biases. And forget about that tinfoil hat theory. What ultimately happens, we saw this with the Melissa Gatto fight, right? Where the ringside position or the ref doesn't want to put their big boy pants on and make a fucking decision for fighter safety.
This was a knockout, bro.
Yeah, or this guy is like, shouldn't be continuing because he's not going to say no, he doesn't want to fight because he's a fighter. Back to the Malott Holland fight, right?
And Big Dan also like talks guys into going back into the fights very often. Remember when he convinced who was it? Stefan Struve to go back into the fight with Ben Rothwell?
That was
Big Dan. And he was like, hey, I'm giving you a point and you just need to win a round, so I think you should go back. You shouldn't be saying that bullshit.
And it's like, A, it shouldn't be happening, and B, the insult to injury is it happened for nothing, right? Because he didn't even get the point taken, right? Or remember, and then back to Kevin Holland. Remember Kevin Holland versus Kyle Dawkins? Kevin Holland like got knocked out by a headbutt foul. He gets flash knocked out, wakes up, gets knocked out by a punch, and then gets choked out. He gets stopped 3 different times. He gets stopped by a foul, stopped by a knockout punch, and stopped by a choke. All for nothing, because when they go to raise their hand, Big Dan like gets talked out of it by Herb, and they have a little discussion. They go, "Oh yeah, I missed that foul," and they decided to save face and made a no contest. So like, what did we just do that for? You wasted everybody's time and Kevin Holland's brain cells for nothing, Big Dan. And Big Dan, by the way, this is in Miami, and Big Dan's going to be there, by the way. Hopefully they don't let him freaking judge this fight. Hopefully Kevin Holland goes, no more Big Dan, please. No more Big Dan. It's always weird stuff when he refs my fights, right? Like, remember even the Stephen Thompson fight too in Florida. Remember the same thing with Big Dan refereeing it. We stop your showboating to Kevin Holland. Stop talking to him. Remember? He was like trying to influence the fight. And like even Stephen Thompson didn't care. He's like, whatever, man, it's fine. Like Big Dan was getting all pissed off. Like on Thompson's behalf. Weird. Like, what do you? Anyways, I just go on that tangent just to say that like Holland is a dog and it worries me. That being said, Fenyo, I do think the haters are just. I heard shout out to my guy Dan Levy, said something like if you fade Kevin Holland from here on out, he guarantees you'll be profitable. And as bold of a statement as that is, I don't think he's wrong, right? Like even if Kevin Holland wins this fight, I think if you fade him from here on out, I think you'll be profitable because
you end up being blue, yeah.
Because even though he's more dogged than we give him credit for, Fenyo, like we just made the point, at the same time, this isn't a guy who, even when he was doing quote unquote good and trying, when we talked about, he was still getting mad about people asking him about, oh, do you want to fight for a belt? He's like, I don't want to fight for a belt. Yeah. You'd say, he's like, I need shoe money, you know? And I go to his Instagram story, Fenyo, and this is what made me to fire. I fired a bet on Randy Brown, minus 135 money line. I just played it to fade him. Because it says, who's in Miami, question mark. Basically, like, who's up right now? Does that sound like a guy who's focused on his fight in the party capital of the world right now?
You could say that. You could say that Kevin Holland has insane amount of dog in him, but you can tell that Randy Brown wants to win a lot more than him.
Absolutely. And the last thing I'll say is this, is that Randy Brown, if you're going to fight him, you got to look for leg kicks and body work, right? And Kevin Holland
not good at leg kicks, yeah.
No. By the stats, he actually goes for much more leg kicks and even body work than you would think.
But most of the leg kicks in his stats are side kicks to the
bullshit.
knee, so yeah.
Yeah. Or they're like little taps. He likes to tap
he does
like the inside.
Like the inside leg kick tap, yeah.
Or he uses kind of break distance, when he's not using his jab. He kind of like taps it and then will flow into his combination. And then the one body shot stoppage he had was, of course, Anthony Fluffy Hernandez. And we love Fluffy, but that's also not a body shot stoppage you can brag about because anybody who goes to his body will stop him. So the last thing I'll add to this, I know we've been talking a long time, but here's the last funny thing. So I took this. Refs never take fucking points, right? We talked about all the reasons why, or some of the reasons why before, but something we can all agree on, right? Like refs, they don't take enough points. So you'd be stupid to bet a point deduction. However, there are very few times I'll bet the point deduction, Fenyo, and I did it last year when Randy Brown fought Gabriel Bonfim, because when I was doing tape, that was the first time I had to do a full profile for a fighter because he's for his first headliner fight, Randy Brown, and dude. He fouls more than John Jones, bro. Like, it's insane. Like, I don't know if you ever picked this up, Fenyo.
Randy?
Like, he's literally a top 3 fouler.
Randy's such an eye poker.
And he's never gotten called for it like John Jones, and he's got just as much probably as John Jones.
Cage grabber, too?
Yes, yeah. Terrible, right? And I was so convinced because I remember the refs just had a meeting at the beginning of the year where they're like, we need to take points more, And I was like, oh, yeah, now they're going to call the point for this one. Or it was before that fight. And they didn't, However, if you watch that fight, what was upsetting was the fight didn't last long, right? But Randy Brown actually poked Gabriel Bonfim in the eye in that fight. So the tally continues. And Fenyo, I don't know if you remember, I think John Dotson was amongst the analyst community. We'd always make the joke like, oh, he's going to get low blowed, right?
Yeah.
Like John Dotson. You remember that? Remember that joke?
Yeah. Even our boy Ben Con, he did a compilation of John Dotson getting kicked in the balls.
Yes. But I feel like it's like the movie Fallen, like the spirit moved on when John Dotson retired. You know who it jumped into, Fenyo? Tell me if you agree with this. Tell me.
Holland, man.
Dude, can you think of a fighter who gets fouled more than Holland?
Kevin Holland gets
fouled. He gets fouled all the fucking time. He is a foul magnet, and now he's coming off that situation, right? That we just stated.
He has a reverse John Dotson, where like the people were trying to kick the legs of John Dotson, but he was so short that they ended up kicking his balls. Kevin Holland's so tall that people go for like middle kicks and they kick him in the balls.
Yes, his balls. Yes, but. I know refs aren't supposed to like take into account on what happened previously, you know what I'm saying? But again, it's like one of those things, like if you were a John Jones opponent, I'll say this to everybody, if you're a John Jones opponent, go to the commission with a tally of all his fouls and be like, look, in literally 14 fights, he has 37 fouls. And you know how many point deductions he has? Zero. Yeah. Make of that what you will, but I swear to God, if I get eye poked and you're not considering this information, something is wrong, right?
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You gotta put pressure on them.
Something's got to give at some point. You know what I'm saying? And I know it's a shot in the dark, but dude, if there is any time to bet a point deduction, Fenyo, how are you not betting it when the most notorious active fouler is facing the most notorious foul magnet, and you have that? You have a previous situation where they're going to be on edge, right? Where if it's Dan Murgliata again, maybe he will get the point. Maybe he will finally fucking get it right? Or Jason Herzog was the Jason and Dan were actually getting into it because Jason Herzog was the on-camera ref that's supposed to be assisting, and you hear Dan go, "Give me an answer. I'm not saying if there was intent. Just tell me if it landed or not." Like he was getting snippety at Jason in it. So Jason Herzog is well aware of the situation, right? So you're telling me I know they're not supposed to think about it, but if you're reffing a Holland fight and you just saw this guy get fucking jobbed in Canada. Getting kicked in the balls is not a point, and he gets kicked in the balls or eye poked. How do you not take a point?
Yeah, for sure.
I know, tinfoil hat, tinfoil hat. I'm sorry. We'll move
No,
on.
but it
But
makes
I'm betting the
sense.
point deduction.
Yeah,
Makes sense. Okay.
yeah. Let's get
Let's go.
back
Point deduction. Let's
to
go.
the. I'm picking point deduction by decision now. uh,
I just put $10 to win 200. Let's go, baby.
okay. Now
Just
getting
a
back to
foul. Just
the
foul him.
getting back to
Let's go.
the
Yeah, yeah.
getting
Back
back
to
to
the
the
fights.
fight. Getting back to the fight a little bit. I think it's interesting because like both guys like their very long 1-2s.
Yeah.
Uh, but they like it when the opponent is like out of position and they going to be in position most of the time because they are not going to be used to
Yeah.
the super tall guy. And I feel like it's sketchy because I feel like Randy Brown on the outside a lot better than Kevin Holland, a lot more resources, better
Mm.
jab.
Yes.
But Kevin Holland, and I've said this like on all my previews because Kevin Holland is on pay per view all the time, so I have previewed him so many times. But Kevin Holland sneaky dangerous inside for a tall guy. The best punches
Yeah.
mechanically for Kevin Holland are tight hooks, are not long punches. The way he landed before the people remember the 1-2 that he landed on Joaquin Buckley, but the thing that was keeping him inside that fight because Buckley was fighting like pretty decent in that fight, getting aggressive, entering with shifting body shots, was that Holland was able to counter inside the pocket. He was like Buckley would
Yes.
enter with
Yeah.
two body shots and Holland would clack him with a left hook on top. And that could be dangerous actually for Randy Brown if he extends combinations inside.
Yeah, especially with his dipping body jabs, he'll kind of like leave his
Yeah,
head a little dangerously low. Like Chaos Williams clipped him off comeback, like in that very way. He made that fight way closer than it needed to be with Chaos Williams.
yeah,
So here's the edge where I give him, not just because of the footwork, results, movement, taller guys striking, but I think grappling's going to be low key here, right? Like it's funny. Randy Brown, he's favored to win the fight, but he's most favored to win by decision, which I agree. I don't know what the number is. It's only like plus something small, Fanyo. But I think it goes like for Randy Brown to win by KO is like plus 800. And I think it's like plus 900 for a sub. Let me see here. Randy Brown by sub is plus 800. I'm sorry.
okay,
Randy Brown by KO is plus 550. And him by decision is plus 170. And how this feeds into the analysis here, I'm not trying to go overly in the numbers here for your crowd. But
yeah,
they're basically the number says that submission is least likely. So Fenyo, here's my another tinfoil hat here, and why I'm picking Brown. I think submission is maybe not most likely, but I think it's second most likely. I don't think it's the least likely. I think it's the second most likely because Holland, even though his chin is going, and that's another reason why I'm picking against him because that D
yeah,
Rod fight that showed that like okay,
and
this guy
Malone
has
too.
been yeah, I'm a lot too. He's been trading on his chin. That's how he's been able to get by. Is stupid durability. He's like a wacky inflatable tomb guy that you can't kill because it keeps bouncing back at you, right? But even though the chin is going, Holland has been sub before. Holland grappling has always been his problem. That's part of the reason why he moved down to welterweight. Even though it's wrestleweight, they were a lot bigger, a lot more
And
smaller, a lot more favorable
Randy
matchups he got,
Brown,
right?
Randy Brown actually decent rear naked choke, right?
Not just submissions, he can finish rear naked chokes. He
And
can
rear
choke
naked
in
choke is
transition
like
off the
the
back.
and rear
He
naked
can
choke
choke off the.
is the kryptonite of Kevin Holland. Like
Yep, and we've seen Randy Brown lock it in like advantageous like clinch positions where he doesn't even have the takedown. He's just so long and can engulf you.
yeah,
He can submit guys off of his back like we've seen with Worley Alves. And his wrestling, even though he's a tall guy, his wrestling's not bad. He just doesn't go to it. Remember when he fought Mickey Gall? And
yep.
Mickey, I don't think Mickey Gall was favored, but Mickey Gall was still like super hyped way back at that time, and we didn't know, or most people didn't know his ceiling. But Randy Brown was like a low key sharp bet, and if you remember, he was like taking Mickey Gall down and just
Yep.
having his way
And
with a accoladed grappler. Yeah, out wrestled him.
I wrestled an overweight Brian Battle in the first round too.
Yes, and because lately he's been doing camps, cross training down at Marquez MMA with Joe Pfeiffer, Sean Brady, and all those guys.
Oh, he's been there
Very
with them.
strong grappling camp. And then as well, the other camp that he goes to as well, and he did for this camp, which makes sense because it's in Florida. But Fusion XL with Phil Rowe, who he's training
Oh,
with, which is a great training partner, tall,
Phil Rowe,
lanky dude.
perfect to prepare for Kevin Holland actually. Yeah.
Exactly, and you got Jacare Souza, what was it? Who's the middleweight guy? The Adolfo Vieira, all those guys, it's a heavy jujitsu gym of
Okay.
accoladed jujitsu and MMA. More importantly, MMA jujitsu people applying it, right? and that's where he's done this whole camp as well. So I think that he knows what the fuck to do. You know what I'm saying? So whereas Kevin Holland's posting who's up or this or that, as far as and then what do I see on the media side from Randy Brown? He's saying exactly what I want. He's going, yeah, Kevin's pissed at me right now because I'm not fucking smiling at him and trying to be his friend. I know that shit. And I'm like, that's exactly what you have
Yeah,
to do to those guys. You can't, because that's a comfort. That's a sign of comfort for him. The Kevin Holland, the talking.
yeah,
Everybody thinks he's being cocky. Like, no, he's insecure. It's insecurity. That's what that is. He needs it to be comfortable.
for
So
sure,
I
for
love
sure.
Randy Brown. I love Randy Brown. What I'm hearing, man. So
Yeah, I'm going Randy by decision. That's my official pick.
all right, let's go. I might throw the submission in a round robin too. By the way, just
Yeah, for
because
sure.
it's plus 800. That's a stupid number. Like, we'll see. Go ahead.
Oh,
Sorry.
okay. Moving on. We have this is the opener of the main card, and we have a fight for the Bellator featherweight championship between
Yeah.
Patricio Pitbull
Uh,
and Aaron Pico. And shout out to my boy Madlock, man. He's right. Masagati would have taken points from Randy Brown, man.
yep. Yeah. Matlock. Great reference there.
So yeah. So old Patricio Pitbull, very low output, but very crafty. He banks completely on winning like big moments and sealing the fight from you like that. Um, a bit too willing to pull on the guillotine, which might be dangerous in this matchup in particularly. But the thing about Patricio Pitbull, even to this day, is that he hits very fucking hard. And Aaron Pico, I wouldn't say that he has a bad chin, but he tends to get hit very fucking hard. So that's a bad combination here. Um, what's interesting is that for most of the time, Patricio Pitbull wants to throw like 5 strikes around, and I don't think Aaron Pico is going to allow that at all. He's going to get on his face immediately, and he's going to try to box him against the fence. And that's obviously a double-edged sword because like Patricio Pitbull, very dangerous counter puncher,
Hmm.
and just very good at finding like fierce layer counters, and that has been like a problem with Aaron Pico, right?
Yep.
Um, but and then you have the grappling, and Pitbull can be wrestled, but he's like efficient. He's very good at stalling and then exploding, getting back to his feet and trying to reverse. I don't think that Pitbull in this matchup is going to be very successful at all with wrestling. Pico very hard to wrestle, so I don't think he wants to play that game. Um, I honestly feel that if Pitbull starts like accepting his back against the fence instead of trying to like land some low kicks and try to scare Pico into staying in the center, I feel like Pitbull can have a bad time here. Like he will always have a chance to land uh, a big right hand, a big left hook. But I think he's going to have it rough if he gets trapped against the fence with the combinations of Pico. Like you cannot count on Pico dying every time. Like there's a reason he wins more often than he loses. So,
Yes.
um,
Yes.
but obviously it's a dangerous fight for Pico. But I don't like you would think that it's an easy picking, a very dangerous counter puncher against Pico, but it's the approach that people is having lately. Like
Yeah.
he had his way against Dan Ige because Dan Ige is another guy that just lacks process despite being very skilled in every area of MMA.
Right.
He just doesn't know what to do most of the time.
Lack of range.
Um, and so yeah, I mean, not that I'm picking Pico necessarily, but I feel like it depends on people like landing something big. I think it's very unlikely, almost impossible that Pitbull wins a decision here. So he's like banking on either the knockout or hurting him into the guillotine because I don't see much more avenues other than that. How do you see this fight?
Yeah, man. I don't know if the doing tape study on this one would help me. This is one of those fights, you know what I'm saying? So I didn't. This is one of the few that I haven't dived into, admittedly, because of that. But yeah, I feel like I'll be picking Pico probably as like just a sadness hedge, because he's rightfully favored. I get it, like what you said. But man, I would love to see a repeat. You said the back to the fence. I would love to see a repeat of. Remember the first Daniel Weichel fight in Bellator with um Pitbull where he's
Yeah.
getting lit up and then
Oh yeah,
he ends
he's
up knocking
getting.
him out with his back to the fence.
Yeah, he does.
Like that's how this would look if he wins, right? That's how this is gonna look if he wins, right? It's gonna look like that fight, right?
Oh yeah, because the no, because the Chandler one, he was in the middle of the cage, right?
Yeah, he it was like when the within the first 30 seconds and Chandler did like a lancing level changing
But
jab and
oh yeah, but people has another one,
Pitbull went right
another.
over it,
He has another
triggered
one
it.
other than the white shield, there where he's also like getting like beat up against the fence, like he finds the big shot, man. So
Oh yeah, I
it's
mean that's his that's been his bailout point, and he's got really good underrated wrestling. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
even if he does end up on bottom, he's got good wrestle ups and this and that. I don't know if Pico's as game over there than he is in the striking phases,
no,
obviously.
for
So
sure.
like I feel like his dog or pass. Like I would if I had room in a round robin, you could do a lot worse than putting Pitbull inside the distance in case he doesn't knock him out and he clubs him and then grabs a guillotine. You know that could be a possibility too, like a club and sub style. So I would maybe say that instead of chasing the plus 700 knockout for Pitbull, but yeah, I feel like it's dog or pass here, but I'm gonna cop out, Fanyo. I'm gonna pick Aaron Pico by knockout, and I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, man. I feel like yeah, and we already seen some cracks in the shin of people, right? He got dropped
Yes,
by Jair pretty bad, and so yeah, I mean maybe he has more awareness against the fence when he's being defensive, and he got like surprised in the middle of the cage against Jair, but still that's concerning, right? He's not getting any younger, um, and Pico, man, people forget he hits very hard himself, so
yeah.
it's a
I don't know
dangerous
how
fight
much.
for an old guy,
Last
man.
thing I'll add, I don't know how much kicks Pico's throwing, but kicks have. I feel like kicks have been extra kryptonite. I mean, they make sense for his style and stature, but I feel like anybody who kicks hurts Pitbull at this point too. By the way,
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I gotta go. Like it's winnable for people. I would not be surprised, and I actually
yes,
want
I
him
hope
to
he
win.
same
But yeah, I gotta go with Pico. Uh,
same.
we move on to our next fight, and we have the retirement fight. Hopefully,
Woo.
for boy Cub Swanson, and he has a very willing dance partner here in Nate the Train Landware. So this one is a banger of a fight. Gotta give it to the UFC. They gave Cub a spot on the main card against a good opponent. They're not like throwing him to the lions of a young guy. I like this fight a lot. The thing that makes it more compelling is that Nate himself seems to be like outside his prime right now too. Um, Especially his once legendary durability. I mean, he always got hurt in the past, but he was usually able to mount the comeback. But he was getting so he was getting hurt so badly against Shage and who was the guy who put him out? Oh, Duho Shoy, yeah. Oh, that one was an
Hmm.
ass beating, man. That one was rough. Yeah, so and for a guy that has very bad reflexes at the beginning of a fight, that you know Nate Landwehr needs to get on a groove to start like being more defensively responsible, and you know who clanks people out of the gate in fights? Cub Swanson does.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah,
So this one
yeah.
is very dangerous for Nate the Train, I feel, man.
Dude, 100. Like I came in again, like especially with a lot of the other fights, like when we just covered. I'm coming in all wearing black in my funeral garb, ready to be depressed, But I'm like, wait a minute, I think I can actually pick the retiring fighter here, which is weird because there's that superstition as well, which mainly more among the betting community than an analyst community, where you never pick a retired fighter, always fade the retiring fighter, Fanyo, right? But in this case, I don't know, man. Am I crazy? But yeah, I actually think Swanson, not just for the early edges that can catch Nate, but if it goes late, even at his
He
age
can
and
match
with
the freak,
cardio,
man. He can match the freak
yeah,
if it goes late.
he can match the round one and the round three dynamics. It's usually people catching Cub cold early, like that Moicano jab club and sub
Yeah.
and whatnot. And I know that looked bad, and then he lost to a washed Frankie Edgar, and it just looked terrible. Those still
But
look awful.
but Swanson
But
but it was like a I think something was happening to Cobb. I mean, I know he's fighting
yes,
a lower level of competition, but he has been looking a lot better lately than
Yes,
in that
yes. Since
period.
then, yeah, since then, even in his losses, like there's at least one, but you could make an argument for two of those split decisions going his way, right?
I
The
thought
Andre Feely,
I thought he beat Philly for
beat Feely,
sure.
same. That's the one I'm talking about. And Burgos, I think there was an argument, correct? That was a split, or was that one that was a split that shouldn't have been?
No, that was that. I haven't rewatched it, but I'm pretty sure that was a bad split. I feel like Burgos should have won that one. But even
Okay.
when they are like close fights, for example, the Hakim fight, where which I think
Yes.
Hakim won probably, but
Yes.
still, like Kove looked very good in that one.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. So I think he can hang, man. And I'm a big Nate the Train fan, but I was following him over from Russia, Fenyo. We used to interview him before his like Victor Kolosnik fights. And so it was a big fan of this guy, man. But yeah, I can't bet Nate the Train here, man. I can't bet either fighter. I'm staying away from this fight, by the way. No money on this. I just want
Oh
to
yeah,
watch it.
that I feel that that's the right choice, man.
Swanson by decision.
I feel like Nate the Train winning 2 and 3, even if they are competitive, is not impossible. But also like Kove can steal the rounds with big moments. Like he can land a huge 1-2, a huge left hook to
Yeah,
put you down. Maybe not finish the fight, but he has the round in the bag after that. So
that'd be
and
so cool if he won by knockout. But I'm gonna
and
pick decision. But that'd
and,
be so cool.
but I'm pretty certain that at the beginning of the fight, at least Kove is going to be lighting him up.
Yes,
maybe
yeah,
maybe Nate survives, but he's going to get some punches to the face.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah, I guess I'm going Kove by first round knockout.
Wow,
If I have to pick
bold. I
anyone,
love it.
yeah.
I like it. I like it. Bold.
Okay, moving on.
Oh, jeez.
What is this doing on my maker? Who put like heavyweight on my maker, man? We have Dominick Reyes against Johnny Walker, and this one is very hard to read. I have no idea, man, because Reyes was like kind of having his renaissance, but if you go back, the one time he actually looked good was against Jacoby, I feel. The other ones were like
Yes.
guys doing exactly what Dominic Reyes wants people to do. And but the on the flip side, like Johnny Walker has been looking trash for a while too now. But he's the
Mm.
kind of guy that does what Dominic Reyes wants people to do. So uh, but there's but then you have the wild card because SBG is super convinced in making Johnny Walker a boring fighter. So maybe he's not going
Yes.
to leap across space and he's going to try to play leg kicks. But leg kicks are kind of hard to play against Southpaw. But Johnny Walker is crazy enough that maybe he's going to try to kill Dominic Reyes with inside leg kicks. I don't know, man. How do
So,
you feel about this
so
one?
he's no longer at SBG. Walker's been at Couture for the last year.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
So
He's at still
yeah,
couture.
so he made a successful turnaround, and even though the plan was to grapple Ming Yang Zhang, obviously as Johnny Walker's fights go, it ended up being a much more comical attempt of grappling him. That still ended up working, oddly enough. It was the leg kicks, obviously, did a
Yeah,
lot of damage,
yeah.
but um, he did say he wanted to, and so he was already showing that he was trying to fight smart, right? And he is with a camp who can equip him with a game plan, right? But this fight, and I know fighters' words you got to take with a grain of salt, Faniel, but he said he's going to fight smart. So now I'm going to hold my breath, right? Obviously, I'm biased for my guys, even though I'm not, spoiler alert, I'm not picking Walker here. We're going to see what the Extreme Couture version of the SBG fighting
Okay.
smart is. So
Yeah.
I'm a little nervous on that. But it also makes me nervous because on the flip side, you had Reyes, who, by his own words, and this kind of makes sense in a kind of a stupid way, or as stupid as the performance looked last time out. To raise his own admission, that was him trying to fight smart Fenyo and not just jump right in. And then he got impatient and jumped right in and he got caught, right? Okay, that's kind of what happened. Okay, I could see that. So what Reyes said is I'm not doing any of that bullshit. I'm going back to what made me, baby. So I'm just like, holy shit, which actually is not a bad idea for this fight
No,
against Johnny Walker, right?
actually, because like Reyes, like yeah, he has made his highlight reel with counters, but he's actually very dangerous on the lead. Like,
Yeah, and when he's being aggressive, yeah, when he's being aggressive. So it's kind of funny. They could potentially work against each other right here. But ultimately, even if this does see the ground, or it is a smarter fight, I just feel like Reyes is outguns him, and the firepower, the dynamism, even the technicality. Like Reyes, even on his before the UFC, showed a lot of promise. He was trained by Joe Stevenson, a real good MMA grappler,
yeah,
but a lot of good like top riding positions and stuff, and he can scramble hard from bottom. So I'm actually not too worried about the grappling from
yeah,
Reyes. It's obviously
way better wrestler than Johnny Walker here. So yeah,
yeah. Yeah. So I just feel there's upside. So, but before I throw it back to you, Fenya, I will say Walker, he does have a negative record against Southpaws as well. So I am going with the stat here. Walker is 2-4-1 against Southpaws. Obviously, that one arguably could have been, 2-5 because that was to Ankalaev, who ended up doing what
oh
we
yeah,
thought he was going to end up doing in the rematch, right? Um, and the two wins were weird too. It was against like Misha Serkinov, who was both fell off and wasn't as much as we thought he was going to be, and was also at a weird point of his career, to be fair, where his wife had cancer. He was moving around, he got kicked off from the UFC, then he got re-signed, and then he beat Khalil in that really weird fight early in Khalil's UFC career. He
yeah,
got the elbows from the tie clinch. Those were his two southpaw wins.
and
Um,
also like. And also Sirkunov and Roundtree more on the stocky side of the division. So he didn't have to deal with like the super long left hand that Reyes is going to bring to the
yeah.
table. Yeah, and that's something
Although
that
he's been,
he hated about Ankalaev.
Yes, he hated about Ankalaev. And by the way, he's been knocked out by super stocky southpaws as well. Was it Wagner Prado or Klitzen Abreu? I believe Klitzen Abreu
Yeah,
was stocky southpaw. He got knocked out by him on the regional scene. So he actually has like two southpaw losses to UFC level opponents there, and they're all by knockout, of course, right? All by
he also
knockout.
lost. I think he also lost to Wagner Prado. I think Wagner Prado was
And
like,
la- and last thing before we push on here, so this is kind of weird, right? I only mention this is so Johnny Walker, right? Maybe SBG I'm sure, had something to do with it. And let's be honest, Johnny Walker is a win lose guy anyway, so don't take it too
yeah,
seriously. But I will say there's a lot of from the light heavyweights. By the way, there's a lot of this matchup and the matchup on the top of the card. There is a little woo analysis, which is babies, folks. They say, "Are you dad enough to be at a heavyweight?" Well, light heavyweight's right there at that dad division. And I'll say this: Walker lost when his wife was pregnant, and then since his firstborn was born, Walker has turned it around so far. It's a small sample size, but technically he's turned it around.
we have the
Um,
dad statistics now.
Dominick Reyes already turned it around before he had his firstborn, but when his wife was pregnant, that was the fight he lost, right? And now his kid has since been born. His kid was born last December, so now he's feeling like all dadded up, and he's saying, "I'm Dad Dom Reyes coming into this." I'm like, "Oh crap." He's got that dad energy. So I
He's the
want to page note that
daddy-nator now.
because yeah, so because that's gonna play interesting for the dad dynamics in the main card. But I have to put all that bullshit in there, Fenya. But yeah, I got Dominick Reyes here. I'm gonna pick against the Extreme Couture fighter to go against biases, but I'm not gonna bet on this fight. No way. I'm not
Yeah,
touching this one.
stay completely away from this one. I think I'm
Yeah,
also going with like Reyes first round knockout, but I would not be
yeah,
surprised either way.
okay. Yeah.
And we go to the big guys. We have Curtis Blaydes against Josh Hokit. And oh my god, man. I feel like in theory, Curtis Blaydes should be pretty bad for Hokit. In the sense that Hokit relies a lot on being a decent wrestler. And he's going to be not the better wrestler here and smaller than Blaydes, who is huge. But at the same time, Hokit sells out for punching people very fast and hard. Curtis Blaydes gets punched by fast guys. Uh, Hogit gives me vibes that falls off the he falls off the rails after the first round. I don't know why. He started to get very tired in a fight he was completely winning the last time around. Luckily for him, his opponent got way more tired than him and gave up. But yeah, I feel like if this one goes long, I feel like Curtis plays. And Hockey, the thing that surprised me is that he didn't look to have much resources on the feet. He's very quick. He has maybe some good mechanics, some good ideas of how to back people inside,
Yeah.
but not a lot of variety. Very vulnerable to leg kicks, awfully weak to leg kicks, which is not like a super strong Curtis Blaydes thing. Even though he did land some good leg kicks before the injury against Tom Aspinall the first time around, right? Um, yeah,
It's
but
tough. I feel like he threw a little more kicks earlier, but Curtis Blaydes, I'll just interject real quick because I think it's important. He looked really bad in the Cunha fight, and not that I'm saying I'm not picking against him anyways here. Spoiler alert. But it's easy to be like Curtis is older, maybe he's falling off. Maybe that's why you would pick against him. But I would caution that, regardless of my pick or what your pick could be, which is that Curtis apparently he was dealing with knee injuries for like the last few years, which
okay,
kind of makes sense when you look at those fights too.
yeah,
I mean, it's hard to say because it's not like I'd be expecting him to be throwing spin kicks if he wasn't, right? So I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but you can kind of see it. Like, yeah, I could kind of see that heavyweight. You can fight successfully until you're older, right? The age isn't
not
necessarily a
not very
limit.
willing to change levels in the last few years.
Yeah, so I don't want to overplay that, but it does also fit into what you were just hinting toward there, Fenyo, right? We just talked about that canary in the coal mine where wrestlers tend to wrestle a lot less. And what was my joke? The heavyweight division, only three guys wrestle. And I was like, and I'd always say four guys wrestle, but I only say three now because Curtis Blaydes stopped wrestling. And I would always give him shit for that, right? And maybe that was why it was because of the knee, right? And maybe he's looking healthier, but dude, even watching him on video, I know it's just training, but like watching him do jujitsu drills, I know he's a heavyweight, but holy shit, does he look like a
He
big
looks
lumbering heavyweight?
slow.
And I don't know. And let me ask you this, because I don't know if he is the better wrestler. I think Hokit's the better wrestler. Now, it might not matter because of size, but here's the thing: the reason why I know I guess I was wrong more than I was right with the Stipe and DC series, but overall, when you look at guys like DC, which is by the way who Hokit models himself off of, so whatever hurt DC, like kicks, leg kicks, body kicks, that's going to work on Hokit too. They're the same style, stature. He even went up to train at Daniel Cormier's wrestling academy, and you see him doing the same things, right, Fenya? Where he actually will have a jab to his credit, right? And I think he can throw a leg kick, but mainly he's jabbing and he's hand trapping, punching, hand trapping,
Yeah,
changing levels, and he's doing that whole DC game, which is smart. He's fighting to his size. That's what he should do. There's not going to be a lot of guys who can tax him with kicks or matching him in the wrestling. But but tell me this, Fenyo. How many times in heavyweight do the bigger wrestlers win? I feel like the smaller wrestlers actually probably win more. I feel like you have to go, even within the Cormiers and Coutures, there were caveats, right? Like it wasn't because of wrestling as far as why DC lost to Stipe, right? Whereas Coutures, he was the smaller wrestler, and the only bigger wrestler he lost to was Josh Barnett, and that was overturned for the positive drug test.
yeah,
Not that I want to play too much into that, but that for what it's worth, like that's the one thing. And when I wrote, Cormier going out, the reason why I picked him the first Stipe fight, because I wrote like in grappling, and maybe you've seen this too, maybe not Fenyo, because you actually keep yourself in shape, unlike me, who blows up like BJ Penn and has to roll with fat guys. You know what I'm saying? Where like because I am a fat guy, in a sense, and and a lot of the times it's not even size almost becomes a detriment at a certain point, right? It's all about matchups. But for example, you could be the bigger guy, and maybe you're consummate wrestlers, maybe consummate submission artists. But if the smaller guy can still wrestle, and more importantly, he can scramble,
yeah,
then that's where you start pulling away. That's where maybe you start off losing. You start off the exchanges losing it, but just like a striking exchange, as the grappling exchanges extend, it's the smaller guys who actually do better.
yeah,
They actually, despite moving uphill, they have the better cardio, they have the better mobility, they have the better speed. And if they have enough staying power to be fighting at heavyweight as an undersized guy, then yeah, they have that staying power.
yeah.
So that's the big question for me because I think Hokit could actually be the better wrestler. It just comes down to what you said, Fenyo. How does the size play?
Yeah, that's interesting actually because and it makes sense. And I saw it myself. Like when I used to roll like bigger guys that were older, what I
Mhm.
wanted to avoid was like, even though it was like jiu-jitsu classes, right? But I wanted to avoid playing jiu-jitsu with them because I knew they were going to be so much bigger than me that it was worth.
Yeah.
So I was trying to turn it into like a wrestling match because I felt like I can bullshit some scrambles, I can get to the back maybe, but I would
Yeah.
never like, even if we're starting from the knees, I would try to like get some movement going, try to grab a single leg, get something like that because back in the day I was like playing guard a lot because that was what you did when you were a striker like 15
Sure.
years ago,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
so but I did not like pull guard on the old big guys. I tried to like move them around to see what happens because like and you see that in MMA too, like
Yes.
and DC actually when he tried to big guy when he tried to big dog guys in heavyweight, he tried to big dog Stipe and he got tired doing that. He was like well better
Yes.
off like going for a quick takedown and landing a few shots or going for a wrist right, playing like more a
Yep.
wrestling game. But he tried to like play top game position against Stipe and that didn't quite work that well because it's hard like holding guys that big down in traditional BJJ positions. Even
Yep.
from like safe positions, like holding a big guy from half guard is tiring because like they're like hip escaping and you got to like maintain your
Yes.
balance. It's like very tiring. It's it's a lot easier to like get on referee position and grab like cross wrist right. It's a lot like, yeah, sure, they're strong, they can't get up, but you feel like you're more in control without like taxing your body so much, I feel.
Yeah. Yep. That, or conversely, you make them do it. So when
Yeah,
you're moving around using your footwork, trying to get angles on them, maybe you fail and you miss a shot and they get on top of you. It's important not to go, oh, I'm going to surrender to half guard and don't let them settle in. That's why I'm a big turtle guy. Play turtle. It feels dangerous, but trust me, make the big guy move like they're a small guy. Make them move around you. Make them excited. Like, oh, I got a
yep,
headlock. Maybe I can get to his back. And even though he's a bigger than you make him move like a little guy. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to give you space to get out. So
yeah,
even if you're in a negative position, keep yourself in a negative position where you can still scramble.
yeah. Many
And
big
Hokit
guys
does a lot
have
of those.
many big guys have awful go behinds and you can just
Yes.
force that. So
And Hokit's got a good go behind. He's got a good shut
yeah,
by.
very
And
fast
he
go
does
behind.
some
Yeah,
and something I love that he did. It was in a regional fight, granted LFA fight, but I was at one of his LFA fights before we got to the UFC and I interviewed him and it was funny. He told me he wanted to model himself after the DCs and the Fedors. This was I tend to meet these guys like Colby and him before they go full shtick, and I can actually like get like an honest conversation in. But I actually really liked what I heard from Josh Hokit, which sounds crazy to anybody watching his media day interview stuff this week. But he actually has the right idea, right? And he's executing that. And he's one of the few guys I saw go for like reverse cradles, and he used that to get into like an RNC position on his last submission win on the regionals. Like he does some really crafty shit. And yeah, man, I just think it's going to be a speed difference. I hate it. I think that Curtis Blaydes should be favored. I want Curtis Blaydes to win. And not only do I think he should be favored, Fenyo, I would argue this line should be wider in Curtis Blaydes' favor. I don't know if you agree with that or disagree with that, but I think it should be. That being said, I'm picking Hokit here by knockout, and I think round two is going to be
oh,
the hot
round
round. Shout out to my guy.
two, that's
Well,
interesting.
shout out to my guy MMA Plays. He goes, all of Curtis Blaydes' knockout wins are in round two in the UFC. He had some kind of stat like that. And I've been playing and missing Hokit by round two. I missed him by just 1 second against the Denzel Freeman fight, which was a really weird, stupid stoppage. If you remember that fight, Hokit's last fight.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
But my theory is that like he's more of he can knock guys out cold, but he's a big attrition and volume guy. And as the competition gets harder, he's not going to get everybody out in round one.
yeah,
That round two becomes more live. And I just think that's a hot round for both guys. Whether they're respecting each other, whether they're stalemating each other, that round two is going to be hot. Give me Hokit. What did you have for your
okay.
official pick here?
Uh, I'm going. I'm gonna take it the risk, and I'm going to go with round one, man. I feel like Hockey
For
takes him
Hokit?
out early.
Wow,
Yeah,
we're both going Hokit here. That's surprising. I think Blaze should be a bigger favorite, and we're both picking Hokit. That's crazy.
I feel like when it comes to odds, I kind of disagree with you. I feel like this should be like very even because you don't know how Curtis Blaydes is going to go
Sure.
up,
All heavyweight fights probably should be
and you
pick 'em,
still
yeah.
don't know about the limitations of Hockey. So I feel like yeah, this one should be like very close to like minus 200 for both guys. But yeah, um, let's move on to our co-main event. We
Woo.
have the professional Murzakanov against Paulo Costa moving up to light heavyweight for the first time. because it was booked and not because he showed up like weighing like 300 pounds during fight week, which was the case against Marvin Vettori. This one is very interesting because Costa moves up here, but he doesn't get to be like the smaller, quicker guy against Murzakanov, which is like the advantage when you move up usually.
Yeah.
But he gets a southpaw, which we know Costa loves, absolutely loves fighting southpaws.
Yep.
Um,
6-1,
so
by the way.
yeah, but he saw but this new version of Costa, which that is not like a pressure bully, uh,
Yes.
looks a bit less potent against southpaws. Like he had the tactics against Kopilov, but he was not able to completely take over the fight, which was a bit surprising to me. Kopilov remained inside that fight until very late, and Kopilov is someone that falls apart. And in that sense, I feel like yeah,
Yes.
like Murzakanov doesn't bring like the variety maybe that Kopilov brings. Uh, I
He,
mean,
he, he
I mean with the kicks because he has a very nice punch
yes.
selection.
Yes.
That left hand can
Yes.
land in so many ways. He's so crafty with that left hand actually. Uh,
Yeah.
but what I would say in comparing like Murzakanov against Kopilov, because both are like these quick southpaw guys that like to like pot shot until they find like the combination groove.
Yes.
Obviously Kopilov a lot more of a dangerous kicker, but I feel like Kopilov is the reverse Paulo Costa in that he likes the southpaws actually. Uh, Actually, very good record against southpaws. I think you posted it. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
One Murzakanov just like shoes up orthodox guys all the time. Like he
Yeah.
kills
That's
them.
his thing. You even see with his head movement, his jab and dip, like he has the perfect. He puts his head in perfect reaction to where like he's technically dipping into the power side,
Yeah,
but he does it in that perfect pocket to where unless you have like the most perfect step back uppercut or there's a stupid knee, and even that it's tough. He really goes right
yeah,
into your chest,
yeah,
right into your chest, so it's hard to counter.
and
His head is always
he
boom.
doesn't do it in the he doesn't do it in head kick range at all.
No, yeah, yeah. He actually has a really good sense for range on leg kicks. And as that's what I was looking at because Paulo Costa, it's his body kick, it's his leg kick, right? It's not even so much of his jab. He has everything minus the jab against the southpaw. And he works the body, which body is more open against open stance. So Paulo Costa has traditionally done well. But like Fenyo said, he's not as much of a pressure as much as he is to kind of on what the fight will come.
He
Now
used to
here's the
be a
difference
more
that
of a pressure guy. Yeah,
yeah, and here's the difference that I see is that Kopylov, he doesn't have, first off, he doesn't have the speed or the power or the durability as Murzakanov.
yeah,
Murzakanov has all those are his major building base because he's not big, he's not dynamic, he's not flexible, right? He's not a submission artist. He is strong, fast, and durable, and he knows how to process those things. So that'll take him a long way, and it has taken him a long way. He's been a big money train for me personally because the only time I bet against Murzakanov, Venyo, or picked against him, and bet against him was his UFC debut against the Teflon Don, Chukwi. And I was actually, if you remember,
Shukri was beating his ass, man.
yes, the whole fight until round three just gets flying kneed.
Yeah,
Right? So I learned my lesson. I learned my lesson, even though that wasn't like a terrible, as terrible a pick as it looks in retrospect for those that watched the fight, right? And the guy's been a money train. And that being said, I feel like I've been, at least since Paulo Costa's lost, I picked him to lose, but not that way to Adesanya. But since that Adesanya fight, I feel like I've had I don't think I've gotten a Paulo Costa fight wrong. Maybe the Yoel fight, but that was a weird fight because
oh
that
yeah.
was like a volatile fight to bet. And it was like one of those fights where Romero actually arguably won, but gave it away on bad optics.
I got the Strickland one wrong, but that was way closer than people think.
Yeah, yeah, it was closer than people give credit for. But one of the things I realized is that also with to your point is that like so I feel like I got a good read on both those guys. And yeah, watching that Kopylov fight, I'm like, okay, I already know Paulo Costa does well against Southpaws. I already know he's got a good record against Southpaws, right? But does he still have it, and how will it go? And to your point, it looks bad that Kopylov, because he had Kopylov hurt. He didn't just have
Yeah,
control of the fight; he had him hurt, right? And that he let him back into the fight, but especially a guy like you said usually falls apart, right? Kopylov doesn't have the best durability, decision making down the stretch. Either both those things kind of fall apart on him. And not only that, Kopylov lacks not just the speed, power, and durability of Murzakanov, but it's different styles. Like you said, more kicks, less hands. But specifically, he doesn't have a strong process, much less not just the same process. He doesn't have a strong process, right? And the reason why he doesn't have a strong process is because he's a southpaw without a strong lead hand. He's got the occasional rock hold, check right hook for a counter, which is good, but he doesn't jab as much. He doesn't, work the initiative, which is where Murzakanov flows. He has his checking hooks, his checking jabs to the body, jabs and dips. He has all these variations, right? And even though he's not 100% of the time dedicated pressure fighter, he can kind of feel the flow like a Costa will as well. He also gets on the pressure way more than Costa of today does, and way more than Kopylov does. And Feño, I'm sure you saw it too in round 3 when Kopylov started taking the front foot and actually just barely working by. Did you see how effective?
Yeah.
You see how bad the reactions were of Paulo Costa?
Yeah, he was in what could have been his easiest round. Kopylov was finding the most success, basically. So,
and Kopylov was doing a pretty good Murzakanov impression right there, too, was he not, right? Like, they were using a similar style there.
And another thing is that Paulo Costa plays a lot of, like, fencer style nowadays. Like, that's not a game you want to play with Murzakanov, man.
No,
like,
that's his whole
He's going to beat you there, man. Like Ratkkey,
that's his whole game.
Ratkkey was trying to do the in and out thing with Murzakanov, and Murzakanov got his reads like super fast, man.
Also, Paulo Costa is kind of like Jeff Neal in the sense of like everybody knows them as a banger, right? Big swinger, punchers. But Jeff Neal and Paulo Costa in their regional career, they were ground and pound guys. They were push you to the fence and try to grapple you, right? He failed against Kevin Holland. That's how he lost against Kevin Holland. And then, for Paulo Costa, even on The Ultimate Fighter, if you go back and watch his fights on the Tough House against like Marcio Alessandre, like he was just a grappler. He didn't have much striking at all. So part of me always wonders, is he going to go back to that? That was a talking point and part of why I picked him against Kopylov last time out. Because I'm like, ooh, maybe he dusts that off. But here's the problem. Even though he's been working with a lot of wrestlers lately, and his main coach is a wrestler, right? Captain Eric Al-Bahassin.
Oh, yeah.
He doesn't go for takedowns that much. And even in the last fight when he could have, he wasn't going for them a lot. And when he did, it looked like they were tiring him out a lot. So I actually think it'd be a mistake. It could be diminishing returns because Murzakanov, even though you feel like,
man.
Yeah, even though he's a striker and he's undersized, you're like, oh, by that definition, he's just waiting to get wrestle fucked by somebody, right? If you're thinking about it in those like basic terms. But if you actually watch him, dude, he's got really good underhooks. He actually moves really freaking well. He moves like a lighter guy.
That butt drag he hit on Rakic, like.
Yes, yeah.
Rakic is
sick. It was disgusting.
Huge.
Yeah. It was just disgusting. His mechanics are good, dude. He's got good. He's really well trained.
You can tell. So, he was wrestling as a child because like he looks clean mechanically as a wrestler. Yeah.
So I hate this fight because I think from a betting perspective, it's really bad. It's like Murzakanov, he opened higher, and it's just like I feel like it's cost her a pass, but like. Yeah, they don't even give you like a good points handicap line where like last time I took Costa points handicap and then I'm like, I'm not going to be a pussy. I'm just going to take Costa. And I had Costa by decision, so I hit all 3. But like even the points handicap is all chalked up. Like which points handicap means is you just have to win 1 round and not get finished and your bet cashes. So you could bet on a losing fighter, Feño. But as long as he doesn't get finished and wins 1 round, you cash. And yeah, they priced that out too. So I have to write a betting article. I'm back with Action Network now. Thank you, guys. But, like, I got to write a betting article for this fight, Feño, and I'm like, dude, there's not even a good bet. Like, I'm picking Murzakanov, and I'm going to put him in a parlay, but how can I recommend that, Like, by the way, if you put him in a parlay with the over in the Maderos and Padilla fight, it's plus money. Okay. Murzakanov money line, and for that fight to go over 2.5 rounds. I think that's a pretty good bet.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll move on to the next fight, because I have another parlay that I might give out that involves the next fight.
And with that, we get to our main event.
So we both got Murzakanov. There we go.
Yeah, Murzakanov. I think I'm picking round 2.
David Harvard from... Yeah, that's funny. That's going to be his hot round, I think. I'm putting him to win in round 2 of my round robin. I'm glad you mentioned that. That's funny. It's a round two. You could shit on us both, folks, for the round twos.
Okay, and for the main event, we have for the uh, uh, blanking here. How do you say when it's available? The vacant.
Vacant? Yeah.
The
No,
vacant.
available title. The available, yeah. Vacant,
The
yeah.
vacant 205 title. We have Jiří Procházka against Carlos Ulberg. So obviously, everyone is expecting Carlos Ulberg to implode like he did against Selçuklu, obviously. And
Yeah.
but two things to consider here. Okay, so we all know that Jiří was getting his ass kicked by Ratkkey,
Yes.
who only has a leg kick.
Yep. Yes.
We also know that Jiří struggles with the left hook quite a lot. And what
Hmm.
are the only things that Carlos Ulberg does? Leg kicks and left hooks.
Yep. Yeah. Lead hand and leg kick interplay. Classic
Yeah,
CBK.
it's a classic CBK, and he's
Um.
actually pretty good at it. So,
Yeah.
so I'll be upfront. I'm not picking Carlos Ulberg, but I would not be one bit surprised if he puts Jiří out, man, because like this is like yeah, I suppose, and you gotta remember that Khalil Roundtree was like beating Jiří's ass at the beginning of that fight, man,
Oh yeah.
and
First two
uh, like
rounds, basically. Oh,
and
round
Khalil
and a
Roundtree
half.
was doing that while being like way shorter, having shitty mechanics, and like Carlos Ulberg,
Not good cagecraft.
yeah,
Yeah.
Carlos Ulberg basically does everything that Khalil was doing in that fight. He does better, like, and he's
Yes.
a lot
Yes.
longer. He's like just as long as Jiří.
Better about staying in the center of the cage. Cage positioning's better.
Yeah, the footwork in general is better. He exposes himself a lot less with his punches.
Yep.
Um, so I mean the avenue for Ulberg is there. Like it's not that Ulberg is like exactly play like Poatan cosplay here, but he kind of could. Like his strikes look different, but he can do a lot of the
Yeah.
same stuff. He can do a lot of the same stuff. Like he leg kicks differently, but you don't need like the most crafty leg kicks in the world to leg kick Jiří Procházka.
No.
And if you layer a jab and a left hook on top of that, you can put Jiří in a lot of
Oh.
trouble.
Oh yeah. Especially with Yuri trying to fight much more technical and, to his credit, defensively sound. He's improved his head
Yeah,
movement in the
yeah,
last
for
few
sure.
fights. He's made an effort to, and he showed the efforts, right? You can't ask for anything more, but he's still very hittable, and he still gives away, even though he's got like 23 first round finishes of his 30 wins or something, he's still at least at a higher competition as the stakes have been higher. I would argue, he's almost just as, if not more vulnerable early. Now that playing field's much more level, whereas he was like a first round destroyer a lot of his regional come up. Now that the competition's gotten better, it's much harder to do. And yeah, this is tough, man. I like Yuri, but I feel like I barely pick him for as much as I like him. And I don't know if it's that analyst trap where I'm seeing a lot of people who think like me that are just like, I like Yuri, I don't know who to pick here, which is completely justifiable, by the way, feelings for this fight. But then they side with Ulberg because he's more technical. And that's the trap that I fall into a lot. I don't know about you, Fenyo, being an analyst. You go with the more technical guy sometimes.
Yeah, I
But
feel this one is especially tricky because he's like Ulberg is not just taking more technical, he's also like the same size and
he's a good size too. Big guy.
yeah, he's a big guy. He's very athletic
And
too.
athletic. Yes, moves well.
So it's like he matches like Jiří everything and has the technique on top of it. And the technique also is like a bad matchup, so it's so many things against Jiří, man.
Yeah,
Uh,
so here spoiler alert, I did pick Ulberg, but it came down to the wire, and I'll say this. I'll give you the technical reasons before I touch back on the woo-woo reasons. But first off, the way I do see Prochazka winning is there's the obvious, right, which is dynamic. He makes it ugly, and he is say what you will about Yuri, he is the more proven fighter. He is the more experienced fighter. And if he gets the kind of fight that he wants, where he has to dig deep into experience, drag the fight out, you could argue that it would favor him on paper. I don't deny that, right? That's the very general dynamic to lay out a Yuri victory, but that's how he does it because that's how he makes all his victories in the UFC level, right? He has to make it ugly. But I'll say this, Yuri. Now, this could be because he was fighting southpaws recently, And what did we say, Fenyo? A lot of people, they like to match the southpaw stance to fight the southpaw. That's kind of been the new
Yeah.
thing, right? In MMA, we're seeing people try experimenting more with, for better or for worse. Now, I feel like it's mainly for worse, and
Yeah.
it lines you up to, because again, we talked about that southpaw killer, right? Where you're
Yeah,
like,
for
oh, you
sure.
want to play the southpaw game? You're gonna get either leg kicked or left hand right down an angle that you never knew existed, and you're gonna
Yeah,
pretend
pretty
you know how
much.
to defend it. Okay, good luck. Southpaws can't even defend it that well, and you're gonna pretend to be a southpaw and defend it? Nah, nah,
Yeah.
nah.
Yeah,
Um, and and
that's a
and
big
Yuri,
problem.
and if you look at it, like where Yuri dropped Jamal Hill and as well as Khalil Roundtree, it's he matched him going southpaw, and he slipped and ripped that left hand. Like literally every time he hurts these guys, it was the same shot. And even against orthodox opponent, and when we rewind it one match back to his last loss, the rematch against Poatan, right? You even go 3 fights back to where he's not. So we see him not facing a southpaw. Even in that fight, he was showing a little more southpaw. So I feel like it's something that maybe he's doing to try to up his defenses and up his dynamism or whatever. But like, I say that because even though Ulberg, he has a winning record, I don't have it up here. I think it's like 3-1 or something. Obviously, the one loss is against Kennedy and Chukwu for Southpaws. But even like guys he beat, guys that are short and shitty, like no offense, but Fabio Charant, dude, if you go back and watch that, I think Fabio Charant literally went 99, not even being hyperbolic, he literally went 98, 99% land rate on every left cross he throws from southpaw. That particular shot venue. He could
Right.
not miss with it, right? Ehor maybe skinned him once, but that fight's over in such a blink. You got your classic Ulberg left hook knockout, right? He can still hit it on his southpaw there.
Yeah.
Good on him. But again, we didn't really get to see it. You know what I'm saying? And that was part of the reason why I took a flyer and picked Reyes to beat him, right? And Reyes was on his run. And of course, Reyes does what we just talked about, where he's kind of just dancing around, then he just jumps in and gets nuked, right? You're like,
Right.
what the hell was that? Okay, and not taking anything away from Ulber, but I'm just saying, I'm like, I still don't, I still haven't. In other words, Fenyo, he still hasn't proven to me that he can fight southpaws really well, or as far
Okay.
as like defending that left hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what's been winning Yuri these fights lately. So I feel like that's gonna be the thing to watch out for. And I hate it because I feel like from that movie Southpaw with Jake Gyllenhaal, and I just watched another movie. I forget what it was, but they fucking it was the guy who fought Muhammad Ali, the New Jersey guy. They did like a biopic on him. It's on like Paramount
Okay.
Plus. You guys can watch it right now if you have the for UFC. But it's like a biop. It's really good. It's really well done. But it's always some bullshit like in these movies where they're like, wait till the 15th round, get your ass kicked to the 15th round in a boxing match, then switch southpaw, and then he switches southpaw after taking 14 rounds of damage and beats him. Like I hate like saying that. Oh, if he just goes southpaw, he can beat him because it feels like these stupid Hollywood movies, Fenyo. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Lastly, sorry, I'm going long winded here. I'll just say Ulberg. So we talked about Elvis Brenner like mimicking Islam Makhachev. Obviously, Ulberg has been mimicking Poatan for Izzy camps back in the day, right? So like
Yeah.
he has that very much look.
Yeah, for
And the
sure.
reason why the lefts work, and this is something that I pointed out all the way back when, again, back another failed Dominick Reyes pick, right? Back when I picked Dominick Reyes to beat Jiří Procházka. Why was that, Fenyo? Is because Yuri, I know he got knocked out by King Mo's right hand, but outside of that, it's a lot of regardless of stance. Like he lost to Southpaws Boyan Velichkovich, Abdul Karim Edilov,
Yeah.
who's dead now. A dead Katarov guy. But it was all left-sided strikes, and it's because he has that box. Even though he's a Muay Thai guy, Yuri crouches like a boxer, and he
Yeah.
always, from orthodox, he's always dipping heavy to this side. So
He's dipping
any
outside. Yeah.
left-sided, yeah. So any strikes with the left are going to annihilate him. That's why I picked
The
Poatan the first time,
and
right? And
the three times that Poatan hurt him, all left side strikes. Like
yeah, and
even the head
Poatan,
kick
they were
was left
smart.
side.
Yeah, the second time he does it with the switch kick, right? And I was just like, and you never see Poatan throw that, right? But it was just like, they picked up the same thing. If a dummy like me can spot this tendency, right, Fenyo? Like you know they got to be picking it up, right? So, and that was the thing I noticed with Ulberg when he fights in Chukwu. He did the thing like Joanna and Jacek and a lot of fighters do, where they either get taxed early or they're afraid of getting taxed early, so they shelve all their kicks, right? They'll maybe throw some leg kicks, but they're mainly punches, and you see the kicks start coming back as they get comfortable. We saw that with Joanna and Jacek, right?
Yeah.
She's a striking phenom, but then she starts shelving her kicks right when she gets to the UFC, right? Because you get the Gadelia fights and all that. She just doesn't want to get taken down. And her kicks start coming into play more as the career goes on. Well, with Ulberg, he was actually a really dynamic kicker early on. And he, probably because he got knocked out by Kennedy and Chukwu, gets all conservative, right?
Yeah.
But in that fight with Ncheku and before, dude's actually a really good kicker. And he throws a lot of those switch kicks, Fenyo. So I got to wonder if he's seeing that too. So not just the left hook, but also the left kick. And lastly, I'll add why I'm picking Ulberg is the problem with Jamal Hill and Roundtree is that when Yuri, not just that they didn't finish Yuri when they hurt him, is that when Yuri was able to survive and come back into the fight, they didn't have anything besides strikes to stop the pressure, right?
Yeah.
They didn't have reactionary takedowns. But Ulberg, I think, does, Fenyo. Tell me what you think of this. But I think Ulberg I think he's got a good top game that's underrated. It's only getting better. And I'm not saying he's going to submit Yuri, but I do like that he's going to have that option to take Yuri down whenever he comes in hot. What do you think of that?
And the wrestling has been looking pretty solid. And Yuri knows strange to looking for takedowns, even though he made a vow to not take down Poatan, but in many fights he looks for takedowns. But also Ulberg has a lot better tools to survive if things starts falling off. That's the thing with Khalil and with Hill. Uh, Not great fundamental defense.
Yes.
They just cover up a lot. Well, Hill is all over the place with the footwork, with the hand positioning.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
And Khalil just stands in there, and you can just freestyle on him, which is what Michal Oleksiejczuk did to him back in the day. Just exploit his lack of layer in the defense. While Ulberg has counterpunching, has better footwork. He can pivot out of the way. Not saying that he cannot fall off the rails, because he saw him fall off the rails against
Sure.
Sejuku, but he has more tools to maybe compose himself for a round and get back at his stuff, right?
Yeah, man. And I really like just his instincts from riding on topside and stuff. I wouldn't be surprised if he could get some stuff done there. But again, is he gonna fall apart or not? That's why it's so tough. That's why I don't want to.
The thing that worries me about Ulberg, I mean, if I'm seeing from the perspective of picking him, is that not giving big mistakes, he's not super able to take over a fight, and we saw that in the Jan Blachowicz fight. But
Yeah.
Jiří is not the kind of guy that is not going to give you mistakes. So
Yeah. Yeah, man, it's one of those things where it was I get it, where people were saying, oh, well, the reason why he went to decision or he didn't throw a lot is because he was trap setting, which he was trap setting. And maybe Blachowicz and guys like Ozdemir were smart enough not to fall into those traps, right? And that was the difference. That's why those fights went to decision, whereas Yuri can't help himself. Now, when I'm writing down his stats here, I had to write, he's a 2-time Risen champion. Light heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
He was a 2-time GFC champion. And I'm like, wait a minute, I'm only writing 1-time UFC champ, but he could be a 2-time. He could make it 2 times all down the board to make, they're hitting you with a real analysis now, folks, You know what I'm saying? On what I could write or not, on coincidences. This is the real analysis right here. And to top it off, I want to share the baby analysis, right, that we talked about. When these light heavyweights are having babies, they've been losing, right? And when they finally have their first kid, they go on their biggest comeback runs, right? I will say Ulberg, his lone loss in the career in the UFC happened when his wife was pregnant, when he's having a baby, right? That was the Kennedy Nunchucks. Since then, he's been on a run. He's in dad mode. Yuri, who gets emotional even at his opponent's victories, opponents he probably should be mad at because they beat him and he's emotional for them. This man, his baby is due literally within a week of him fighting. It could come early. So he's having to laser focus, make sure his wife, as he says, completes her mission. He has his mission. But yeah, man, the baby woo-woo, I'm just saying, the 4 sample sizes, the 4 relevant sample sizes we have on this card who have all fought each other in some way, they've all lost when their lady was pregnant with their first child. I'm just saying. Just saying, Peña.
Yeah, yeah. I liked that analysis, man. I feel like it makes
The real analysis, bro.
the
That's the
real
real shit.
analysis. Yeah.
The real
Uh,
analysis.
the last like bullshit analysis that is not related to
Yeah.
paternity that I
Yes.
want to add is that if you go back to the Ustamir fight, because Ustamir is a more conservative fight, so he made
Yeah.
it to a decision, right? But it was Ustamir lost that fight because he was getting his ass kicked in two phases. When he was waiting
Mm.
too much, because like Ulberg, if you don't give him nothing, he's going to do stuff.
Yeah.
Uh, but also when he was trying his like shifting entries and that kind of stuff. That's like the most Jiří coded part of Volkan Ustamir.
Yeah.
And that's where Ulberg was like countering and countering in combinations, which was something that I like a lot from that performance. Um,
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. Good
so
point.
yeah, I feel it's very possible that Jiří wins here. Like Ulberg can get
Sure.
tired and Jiří can just kill him, and we know that Jiří has like no quit, great gas tank, and huge power and creativity, so he can always win. But if I go for the tape, I gotta go with Ulberg, man.
Yeah, same here. I'll be happier if Yuri wins, by the way. There's a lot of fights that me and Fenyo have picked where we would actually be happy if our pick is wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
And this is one for me. I would be nothing against Olberg, by the way, but dude, it's like by the way, it's like one of those things where it's like, oh, the same stuff you can crap on guys for, you can crap on girls for a certain extent. That's a two-way street, guys. So the same thing you can crap on girls for, you can crap on guys for. So like, not to be like sexist or misogynist, but there's that thing where like, oh, she's hot, so she probably has no personality. You've ever heard that stereotype, Benyo?
Yeah, actually,
Have you heard Carlos Ulberg's interviews? Have you heard how much fucking personality? I literally have never hit the rewind so much because my brain just tunes out. Like this guy is so I can't even. He's so lifeless. No, you can tell he's a guy who's like who's had to like burn 2 calories to fuck for his entire life because he does not burn any calories. He does not care. He's total hot guy complex, man. Just got to throw that out there.
yeah, man. Ulberg, I get why people hate him, but the fact that so many people hate him like makes me root for him.
Me too. Yeah, no, for sure. I'm not even hating on him, but I'm just saying it is funny how that's applicable. Like, yeah, this guy's like
He's not Jiří at
he,
all.
he is like total. If you ever want to know what the hot blonde version is of a guy, I mean, that's Carlos
It's
Ulberg
Carlos
right there,
Ulberg,
man.
yeah,
He's
pretty much. Okay,
this was
guys.
good. This was good.
Yeah,
Long but good.
yeah, for sure. So that's the pay per view, guys. Like quick rundown of the pay per view. Let me check in my phone because my computer is kind of dying right now. Uh, but yeah, I mean, this card is like not awful, but okay. So fights to watch out for. Okay.
All
Um,
right.
Ratkkey versus Prado. Not invested in that one, but it's probably going to be fun actually.
Yeah, I can see that totally. Yeah,
Padilla versus Maderos is like the undisputed like
low key.
hidden gem of this card. Yeah, for sure. Then we have Gamro versus Reevic. Very high chance that it sucks. But if Reevic wins the fight but loses on the scorecards, at least he's going to make you feel alive, right?
Yeah, let's be a much better fight than it could have been in that case.
Kevin Holland against Randy Brown is going to be a mess. I told you guys, Stoll versus Stoll. It's a
Yeah,
disaster, so watch out for
I
that.
bet on it.
Pitbull might be kind of boring nowadays, but I don't think that Pico is going to allow that at all.
Yeah,
Then we have Swanson versus Nate the Train is going to be great.
yeah,
Murzakanov versus Costa, potential for being a fun fight. And I actually like the main event a lot. Like Tyra versus Joshua Ban was way better, but this one is very
yes.
good, man. This one is very good.
Although it's funny, neither of them you could argue would have produced a real champion because you could still be like Pantoja and
Yeah,
Peloton, my,
and
my
Peloton,
fucking
yeah.
guys, by the way, my fucking guys right there.
You're
So
fucking
I'm not trying to water on it, but I agree though. I agree.
yeah. You gotta take what you can with current day UFC,
Yes,
but hey,
exactly.
Mark, what's up, man? So so yeah, that's it, guys. Thank you for joining. As always, thank you, Dan, for being here. Maybe
This
we
was a nice
can
treat, man. Thank you
maybe
for
we
having me.
can
Thank you. This
recap the
was a nice
card
treat.
next week. It depends.
Whatever. Anytime you need me, as long as I don't
Okay.
drive any listenership away. And by the way, do the opposite. Make sure you like, subscribe, and share my guy Fenyo stuff. I'm going to share this in my Substack later for anybody that wants to go back and listen. Can bring some more people your way, my man. You deserve it.
Okay. Thank you, man. I appreciate it so much. So, guys, I leave you there. Thank you so much for tuning in. And as always, I catch you on the next